crazy from Pablo Ingo and Bevy so far. We already know how much power they have in this lobby with the slurps. They've got too many to carry. The Stomps are sitting on the floor there. And now they take out one of the most powerful teams in the lobby in Thomas and Malabuka. They are setting up really well for this game.
They know who they're taking out so far. They know the exact positions they can play as the game continues, but just keep in mind their position in zone. I know they got the slurps, they got the slap splashes too. Big issue is the majority of the lobbies on that top right side actually above them, so it'll be very difficult to move towards that top side on that Rift Island. Skrill, Bluefire, or Blurfire, excuse me. At the tip of the top, you have that launch pad for rotation, but it's about claiming the island first.
Yeah, for sure. And they already have it claimed, right? You see that drum gun in his inventory. And so those extra points will do them wonders over the course of the day if they can consistently start to claim it. And Blurfire and Skrill will look to be on the island a lot of the time. Some teams often just sort of try to take it when chance, when it sets up for them. Others will look to force the issue game after game.
Yeah, it's a win condition versus a benefit for a lot of people.
And I think we're seeing here why it's not too bad for these players to rift at this stage, right? 80 players still up. So difficult to really get hit once you're gliding in. And so not a bad option to rift. Well, a lot of teams will still opt to use the mud to get into zone. Either or, I think, will work in this lobby.
It's really tough for the slabs. Everything's so open. Nebs, did you see what he saw? Because I didn't. I didn't. That was just a shadow.
Yeah, nah, you always got to be ready, though. You can't have the top of your head completely exposed right above the Rift Island. Like, got to be more on point than that. We're in the FNCS finals after all, right? The grand finals, that is.
Blur in control, but still kind of at a loss. We got a really good spot to counteract Rifters. Neb's kind of blocking their view for anyone that can actually see from the backside. He's taking a lot of that damage for himself. I mean, this is where Skrill has to be active and keep an eye on this team. They're going to pressure them for now, out of frustration, if anything. Give them a little bit of a check, but they're able to keep things secure. Those are just birds, won't give you surge. Nothing to find for Skrill.
Yeah, but this is an example of a team that maybe lacks that grand finals experience, right? Because in this kind of situation, in these kind of lobbies, you have to know it's going to be so difficult with 80 players up to get surge in 5th zone. It's going to be tough. You know, you could argue, yeah, they're in a great position though, 11. Look, they have so much vision over everything around them. That's just not how this lobby goes. That is just not how this lobby goes. It's why early surge is so important when you can be in closer quarters to people and get shots and tags that way.
I would say this is the god spot for surge right now, right? Rift Island, good to be on top of it, but so many people can hide under you. Chico Chulix are going to be able to see every single person move.
Yeah, and of course, they've been set up here for quite a while as well, so the ability to sort of ward teams off and change the direction of where they have to rotate through.
It's nice.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I mean, they're basically keeping good accounting, good books. They see everyone's story. Ooh! And Chico can follow it too.
That's nice from Chicho.
Archie, though, different story. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. No Mammoth Ammo, they're kind of stuck on finding a fight now. Unfortunately, I think this might just be the end. Nice try for them on the first game.
Jakey fans still win it, though. But yeah, I think it will be the end. It's tough because they switched to landing sort of north of Kinjitsu, sort of by that gas station area, right? That kind of split. Moving away from the Steamy Springs area, but the problem is, in a lot of cases, they're still going to have to rotate through the same ways. So the surge struggles they were having then are still going to apply to them a lot of the time now, and we're seeing that here already in game number 1, where they just haven't quite got surge figured out. So hard to get tags onto teams on this side of the map. And Jakey fan will do his best, but his best will not be enough for game 1. Have to hit the drawing board and go back again.
Meanwhile, what looks like kings on a castle with a moat around them. Mixed in Blaha in game 1. Saw their early off-spawn elimination. After that, it's just been easy ridings from zone to zone, and the next one blesses them so well. Right beside it, they don't have to move in just yet because they have complete control of this hill. Just look at the sight line. You're moving directly into them. from a lower plane of movement, it's going to be so much easier to both hit headshots and find bodies. A really good spot, and they won't have to move until very late. Another long-range shot from Blaha, and Mixon follows through after it too. Fox and TKS were also contested off spawn, but just picked up elimination while moving in general from zone to zone in the game. They follow the rest of the community in the lobby. Too many people on this side of the zone.
Yeah, it's just rough. That's how it is though, on congested side of zone in a grand finals lobby. So punishing for Lush. He might sneak in just because everyone's so busy and occupied. No one's really paying attention to him running in, but once he gets in, the job still is difficult. Walks right into a box, but eventually is found. And that might be a big help for Swizzy and Prutrick in their journey up for Surge. See them sitting here, 271 above. Cammy and Seti on the other side of their walls. Patiently waiting for them to make a mistake.
Pen picking up a few in the feed. Trulux also popping off. Ned's getting two. While Swizzy does get targeted. Tries to clap back, but he's not going to be able to fight on his terms. Now it's just desperation. Down to no hard mats and just a little bit of wood. They're going to have to make this move too. Cammy, while fighting on one side, gets two more from the zone too. Or at least helps on pressure as Roban picks him up. Everyone now moving to zone, but these guys can still take a little bit of time. Lots of mats available. Slurps too, so they can cheat just a little bit getting their way in.
Yeah, you see them opting to ramp above these teams, building up and going over. And that works out so perfectly as the zone starts to open up. Now all these teams are going to scurry in, but they were the first to move. So they'll pick their spot wisely, center-ish in the zone there.
I like it when Cammy rotates, he throws that double ramp up a lot of the times. People think he might be building up foolishly. He gets to drop off on the right side. No tags taken. Easy distraction. Vico, though, is trying to be a nuisance himself. Finds a few, gets traded. Everyone just checking each other's boxes. Nothing to find just yet. Vico says close that one. Not today. He's a bit desperate, though, just slightly below. With all this movement that's happening right now, he should find a few more openings to get that number up.
Yeah, and this is what you want out of Vico, dealing damage. That's the value he brings to the squad. And even though historically he's always been a player that plays better in day 2 of grand finals, a good day 1 would work wonders for this team's chances of securing top 10.
From the looks of the zone, I think Blaha Mixon got blessed again. Tucks even more so on the left side. Yeah, I mean, they're one of the closest teams who's kind of in mid-ground for this. Rest guard Tripperin, also in a good spot, but the more they wait on what to do, the more teams end up going right in front of them. Get the save match for the moment, but we'll have to make some action happen soon. Prutrick Swizzy right above. This is going to be a tricky one. I've never seen just everyone be so static and not move just fast just yet inside a game 1 like this, but it's going to get finicky. Everyone's going to have to basically play perfect.
Yeah, and of course, an ape zone pullback is something that many of these guys will be accustomed to. Blaha and Mixon won't be accustomed to dealing with it on such low surge. You see him pre-popping a slurp before they rotate, just accounting for the fact that there will be damage taken on their rotation. Hubbo and Bebies, I wouldn't be surprised if they did the same as well, because this is a tough zone to traverse. You see so many mats having to be invested, but it will go a long way because many people aren't using mats, they're just losing their lives. They at least stay in the game and are still sitting in a good position with their mat economy.
I mean, looks like they have an empire they're leading with, right? That was so many mats used, as you said, on that rotation. Almost basically topped off, and looking for even more in terms of pressure on the backside. Take a look at Hydro and Trexter down low as well. Someone tries to challenge him, a little bit of a distraction, but it's not going to stop the pain. As Bevies gets closer, wall to wall, they find nothing, but they affect so much. I think a total of 30 HP between Hydro and Trexter. They're just waiting to pop a few meds of their own. They might go right back at it, but Zone's going to move in just 10 seconds. Got to make sure your priorities are straight.
Yeah, and of course, this is where we start to see teams establish high ground, teams who want to be playing for it, and that's exactly what Roban and Naxos will do. Some pre-cones into the zone just to make sure they can get ahead rather quickly, and warding off those teams on the other side of the zone. Have to be aware of the side they're not looking at though, right? Just behind them, players could sneak up from behind. It's so hard to hold zone from this point on in first moving. So much space to cover.
Baja Mixon taking a little bit of space of their own. 2 layers up, then all the way down, you see the realization as to where space is free. Baja's there, Mixon right behind him. Who's not making it though? Anas falling down to Bevies, who keeps on that aggression on his layer. Vico lost Pink, so that's all up to him to just solo clutch this one out. He has a few materials to keep it going, but his HP pool is dropping. He's sliding into other boxes. That'll be Dexy. There's a lot of mats to work with.
Look at what you see here. Seti and Cammy clearing out players on their layup. And this is something really interesting because you see them on second height getting pressured a bit by Roban and Axforce. But they're going to keep moving through these zones. I don't think they'll look up for height, but they are still a strong force in this game.
Height getting a huge advantage here as there's a big bounce back happening, so they get to save on just a few more mats. Seti Cammy have the best lane for this one, and Pablo Wingo and Bevies are sharing that entire vertical lane too. They're right below him. So on this perspective, they're actually going to find a few more individuals box to box. The look for these fights, Hedra's also on this side. They might just end up clashing heads here in just a second. They need to move up. They're getting squished and have no more room to breathe. Matt's also running low. This crevice, can they actually fit through it? No, it's not going to be a sneaky mission. They have to go guns blazing, absolutely loud and proud through these boxes. Still seeing no one, so their timing's absolutely perfect. It's all about picking the right movements, the maneuvers, the layers, and right now, it'll be Grols on the other side of this one and getting a lot of damage done down. Hedra's gone. Dexy will be able to transfer and pick it up, but now he's a solo.
Not easy at all to move through, but he's making it happen. These big shotgun shots are going to do it. Moving through these bills that aren't he's a bit sketchy. But as he gets to new ground, he'll build a couple boxes and starts to look around. Even still though, look how easy it is for the guys on height.
On height, it's popping off, but in the mid-ground, Refscar takes it straight to town. The Blaha and Mixon. Trippin follows afterwards and confirms the last 50 HP. Pablo Wingu, seeing chaos, says, I want more, but on all sides of the map, they're going for the top down. Might not just have it yet. Pablo's just doing that damage as Bevies is up there too, doing the best he can to make sure these guys don't have it for free. Trippin finally going down low to Chicho and Trulex. Axforce edited down, 130, hits the ground. Pablo Wingo Bevies, healthy, inside the zone, still fighting, get 2.
Unbelievable from Pablo Wingu and Bevies, but a rock flying all the way through. What have I just seen? And it takes down Pablo Wingu. It's just Bevies left with no materials. He has a slurp, but just needs to hit some shots. Finally picks up Podeside, and that will be enough mats to keep him in the game just a bit longer.
Final players in the air. No, it's Trulex coming in out of nowhere on the backside. 1 HP. Can he make it? No! Bevies! Scissors does go down the rock, but they end up winning the game. What a performance to bring height to them and take that game 1.
That was unbelievable. I don't even know what I just saw towards the end there. Pablo Wingo and Bevies with a very late height take. The kind of take they can only make because of the slurps they have, Shayo. All those slurps allow them to play in the zone, take height off of Axforce and Roban, who did not see it coming at all. And even with a bit of adversity, I don't know where that rock came from, they still make the win happen.
Oh man, Bevies looks shaken kind of a little bit towards the end, but he's like, I still gotta pump, I still gotta go, right? And he makes it happen. Trulex almost there, secures that second, but the way these guys won this game, fury and finesse, that was amazing.
Look, the big thing for that team is consistency. Can they win off spawn again and get a chance to run it back just like that game? It's not a guarantee, but we still have so many games to left to see. Let's send it back to Ian to break down game 1.
Levin, Shayo, thank you very much. Pablo and Bevy kick things off in monumental fashion. Bit of a crazy end game, but that's what we're here for, right? We love to see it.
Now, in that crazy end game, definitely heavily credited towards their crazy start because, again, it was winning out that initial contested off their drop against Skyden and Shakos, but the early battle as well against Thomas and Malabuka, that initial elimination onto Thomas and Mali set them in such a great spot because they were max mats and they had so many heals to go through the rest of the game.
Yeah, they just gave them a bit of a fire in their belly once they got those eliminations. They were like, yeah, we've taken out some of the favorites in the lobby. Why don't we just become the favorites?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about building blocks to success, taking out some of the favorites, starting as strong as they did, and racking up, I think it was 9 eliminations. Phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, really great stuff from this duo. And of course, this is what we like to see. This is what Levin alluded to right there at the end. They actually use these slurps to actually enable themselves to take that high ground. We saw Axforce and Roban expending so many materials up on high, which just they run out of steam. They couldn't get enough refreshes, which is different to what we've seen from them this season. We've seen them very proficient on high ground. So for Pablo and Wingo and Bevies to take that at that stage is so difficult to do. But because they have those slurps, they could do it.
Exactly, and it would have also made a pretty big difference had Truelex actually had any sustain of his own. Bevy still had a decent amount to work with in terms of heals department, but that initial awareness to even take out X-Force and Robin when they were trying to plant height, to apply some pressure from the secondary height, that was just really well played by those two.
Can I say I love that kinetic rock play at the end where
Yeah.
the rock just comes flying through all the
Who
builds? Like,
sent
where
it?
did that come from? I don't actually know.
It's on a mission.
It was.
Well, just like that, we're going to make this pop up out of nowhere. Where did it come from? The leaderboard is coming, and here it is. Obviously, it's early days, guys. We can't get too excited about it, but you know the saying, start as you mean to finish, and Bevies and Pablo have started perfectly.
Yeah, this is exactly the kind of start that you would want to see from Pablo and Bevies, but they're not the only team looking to get things going on the right foot. I mean, Seti, Cammy, you can never really count these guys out, and it's almost tradition at this point to see them in the top 10 after game 1.
Yeah, we saw them fighting towards the beginning of that end game, and they were trying to pick up as many refreshes as possible because they didn't quite have it. Of course, the zone did pull towards their sort of drop spot area, so they couldn't quite have they'll take advantage of those teams that were rotating because everyone's sort of rotating to them. And you can see right here, they didn't quite have enough materials. They were trying to look for some refreshes, but they made it into the later stages of the game. Not the best start for this duo, but with Malibuka and Thomas HD going down early, I'm sure they'd be pretty happy.
And definitely a decent solo clutch out of Seti there as well. But
Yeah.
even when Seti had Cammy by his side, some of those earlier clips that we saw applying pressure onto 2 separate areas in the low ground, that's just something that comes with experience. And also their positioning, they were able to move a lot of times into the center of those later zones, which put them in a great spot just to try and clear out the mid and low ground layers.
I'm sure that they'll be thinking that they're just warming up here anywhere after
Yeah.
game 1. In second place, Refsguard and Trippin. Great performance again. And look, 9 eliminations on par with first and third. 3 teams with 9 eliminations.
Yeah, fantastic job from this duo, and I really like the way they were playing that end game. They were hip to hip, they were going for those eliminations, they were going for those refreshes, and off spawn, I thought they might split the drop, and that's exactly what happened. There's enough real estate at their drop spot that they don't actually need to try and 50-50 and fight off spawn. They were able to get off to a good start, and we often see that with teams in game 1 of Grand Finals, because they don't want to try and risk things going into the end game, but when it got to end game, boy, did they frag out.
And that's the thing, too, is that when it comes to these set lobbies, especially in a grand finals lobby, you have to expect that there's got to be a solid surge plan being enforced here. And for Tripper and Refstoxy, it seems as though they've really found a little bit more of their stride the later things have gone on in Major 3, because you have to remember, week 1, not necessarily their favorite, but if they can keep this magic going, things will look good for them.
Yeah, any names on here that you're surprised to see in the top 10?
I mean, I guess you could say Dexy and Hedra. These guys haven't necessarily been going into today with, like, being favorites, right?
Yeah.
A team that we haven't really spoken too much about, but a really solid end game from those guys. Of course, Robin and Axe Force as well, another team that managed to take high ground there at the end, and something that we've seen them do a lot.
And the thing is, Taco, right, if you are one of these teams, like you just said, Mini, that we didn't necessarily allude to at the very beginning, there might not be a lot of hype around you. You cannot really underestimate what a strong top finish in game 1 can do for your confidence.
Of course. I mean, we talk about it all the time with EU and just competitive players in general. You want to play off of momentum. You want to feel that early energy. But you have to remember, this is a 2-day event, so you're not trying to blow all your steam too early on.
The prime example of that was Blurfire and Skrill, of course, going up onto that Rift Island at this game. We saw them down on Surge, though, and that's quite common, you could say, when you see a team that's making their first Grand Finals appearance today. They try and make these big plays, trying to go for that Rift Island. They do end up claiming it, so that's a good job from them, but they just didn't quite do enough prep going into it, so hopefully for them, they can switch things up and try and improve as well.
Yeah, I mean, another team that will be looking to try and improve going into the second game, Vico and Pink. Now, they did have some little flutters. They had some moments where they did look to pop off, but they didn't make it to endgame.
It was largely just the standard issue that Vico had along with some of the other teams in this lobby. He ended up as a solo trying to clutch things through, but it seems as though they're off on the right start, because as far as Vico and Pink are concerned, the main thing is that they never really had an opportunity to try and challenge for height. By the time that Vico would probably want to start entertaining that, or Pink, I should say,
Yeah.
as the IGL, it was kind of a little bit too little too late. But again, a game 1 scenario.
Yeah, we saw them riding just on the edge of that surge, and it had to be Vico's clutch eliminations and some of the clutch shots to actually get them above.
we found
and there it is. But it's one of those situations where if you're not above going into endgame, if you're not above in those final zones, trying to scramble for it at that stage of the game, you can see what happens. You get stuck all the way back in zone. And Vico did a very good job to clutch up, but I mean, it's Vico, so you can expect him to do good in these situations, but it was almost a little bit too much for him, even Vico.
Yeah, I mean, look, Pink knows that as well, right?
Yeah.
He's very aware that Vico can pop off for him, and he said in interviews before that, especially in mid-game, if Pink's not having the best performance, he's like, okay, Vico, can you just sort this out? So yeah, that's the lay of the land from 1 to 10 after game 1. Blaha and Mixon as well. I know that we highlighted those guys, but didn't see really enough from them.
Yeah, we saw them win off spawn, which is expected. I think they know that drop spot so effectively, and they know how to loot there effectively as well. And I expect this team to keep up the momentum. Top 9 for now is not too bad, though.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's my favorite name to say out loud. Blaha.
Blaha.
It's nice, isn't it? Blaha.
It's good.
All right, so we're now 1 game down. I know that you, and I know that you two in particular, have waited a long time to get to this point where we're into Grand Final. We are game 1 done, but there's still a long, long way to go. So you can't get too far ahead of yourself. If you're one of the teams that finished in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you got to have stamina.
And definitely expecting a resurgence here in game 2 from Thomas and Melabuka specifically.
Even for teams that we don't expect to do quite as well, Archie making his first Grand Finals appearance, going down to Surge early on. Lots of lessons to be learned, but there's still 11 games to go, so it's not over yet.
Yeah, you just said 11. Let's get to 11. Was that? No, that didn't work.
Kind of.
All right, thank you. Listen, you are, of course, watching the FNCS EU Major 3 Grand Finals. Game 1 is in the rearview mirror. It's now time to throw you onto the battle bus for game number 2.
Thank you so much, Ian. Let's drive on in game 2 for EU. And sometimes the road looks new, other times Pablo Wingo is doing exactly what he does, which is just fast games.
Look, in Major 1, when these guys were popping off, everybody thought, you know, are they going to be like this for the rest of the year? Are they just going to be that new Tier 1 team you see dominating the game? And Major 2 was a bit of a slump, but here in Major 3, right back at it, that first game was very, very impressive.
Nostalgic with a few rocks in the air too, so I want to see a little bit more of that. Meanwhile, some of our top teams still inside the top 10. The biggest key after game 1 is to keep on stepping in game 2 and make sure it goes exactly the same.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of teams are getting a feel for the lobby. Grand Finals is a new experience, and let's head right into that experience. Game number 2 is ready. A lot of these players will never have played in a lobby this difficult for many different reasons. And so once you get that first taste of it in game number 1, game 2 is a chance for, again, you to come in and re-implement certain ideas, try things new, and of course, fight off spawn. Bevies and Pablo Wingo seemingly have some not as good drops as Skydin and Shakers. Skydin and Shakers already landed, picked up their weapons, and so it might be a quick 1-1 off spawn here because Bevies isn't working with much. He does have an SMG now and picks up another weapon, but very fortunate to still be alive. Their drops were not as good as the Frenchies.
Shakos is not as crazy as Pablo Wingo and Bevies to just push with a gun randomly.
Wow.
Look at the beam! Shakos is down!
Wow.
That's it! It's just Skydu now, and in the air! Before he even steps to the ground, Bevies finds another.
Bevies and Pablo Wingo win off spawn again, 2-0 right now. And we're hopping right into more off spawn action. Blaha and Mixon up against Jakey and Nathan. They're trying to come back here and give it another shot.
Their fly's been better already. Inside the roof, they found not the best loot to fight with, but dropping down. There's a nice little bump. Gonna be tough for Nathan to face that one. They have a little bit of loot of their own that looks pretty good, but Nathan and Jakey have everything kind of set against them in terms of position overall. They might be working on mats. Blaha Mixon got the position, so that'll be the difference maker. Should have been a 50-50 out spawn now. It'll still be a 50-50, but put some long division on it. It's gonna take a while for it to actually come through.
Yeah, I think this fight obviously being more 50-50 in nature is often better for the team that wins, right? Because it doesn't allow the frenzy team to come in and third party. The longer this fight lasts, the more potential for those teams to come in and just get some free surge. But Blaha and Mixon, they want to put an end to it right now. Running right in, pinching from both angles. Unfortunately, Mixon's gone down. That leaves Blaha to fend for himself. But it's something he's accustomed to. Already picks up one and picks up the other as well. Blaha is not to be messed with.
1v2. You love to see it. I know he's got the firepower, but have the movement, have the speed to make it work too. If Jakey wasn't awake, he's awake now. We gotta never blink against this man and make sure you got a good night's rest too. That's just tough to face.
Yeah, and if you're Jakey and Nathan, you start thinking in your head, oh, are we gonna have any luck off spawn here, right? 50-50 doesn't work out for us. Even when we take some time to slow down and loot, it still doesn't work for us. If they come back in game 3, they have to come back with something different for sure.
Now, Fortnite at timeouts, that's where, like, you know, you look at the ref, you're like, please, we need 3 minutes to think about what to do next. Call my coach, call my coach's dad, see what he thinks. We need a new plan.
phone a friend, get some advice. Because right now, Blaha and Mixon are on a tear. It's interesting, right? Because when speaking to Pink and Vico, they were a bit worried. Because JK and Nathan used to land at Pink's spot. So he was thinking if Blaha and Mixon just get, you know, dominate these guys on spawn, they're going to start landing on us. They're going to go back to a spot that they know a bit better. So he'll be keeping track of that fight, I'm sure. Refs and Trippin, we saw them doing really, really well in game one. And I was worried they'd be contested off spawn, but it seems to not be an issue for them so far.
Yeah, Mini mentioned that I think with Huddy now and Refsguard, they're actually splitting the overall drop in general, or taking as much as they can individually and not going for the full fight. So we'll have our regular 50-50s to watch, but this one that can span so much space is not going to be actually taken all the way down to 0. We're dealing with Savage on the beaches of Mega City. We're going to make their split work. Everything over here takes a while to actually delve down into. Savage with a few free tags. Nothing kind of really slapped back towards him. Lots of investment to get to the next portion of looting,
Guys,
but
start to find some confidence. Right, I spoke to Vidil before the tournament. He didn't sound like the Vidil I want to hear. Right, he doesn't sound like the Vidil that's ready to go out there and win the whole thing. And so I really hope these guys just are playing today and things just click for them.
few home zones that'll go good. How far Nebs it already is. I feel like in that last game, these guys were online.
Yeah, these guys have just been in very, very fine form. I think they're the kind of team where once that dice just gets rolling, it just keeps rolling for them. You know, they don't stop rolling that dice. They'll keep taking fights when they see fit. And a lot of the time, they'll just keep winning them. Their chemistry together when fighting is really, really good. Something you can't fake, you can't replicate.
Oh my God, Putrick, 3v1! I can't believe it!
Wow, what a player. How many guys you know 3v1ing out here?
No builds
Keeney and
needed.
Niche are still here. They've not moved. I honestly thought the screen was just frozen at first when you came to them. But they are just adamantly waiting for them to claim the vault. And they have now, right? So they're going to open that vault. And Nisha and Teeny will be here. He's walked in. Are they going to pick it up, though? Oh, all that waiting. It doesn't seem like they've got the limb for it.
I'm waiting for that long. I feel like on the other side of things, you have to know they might not have as many mats. They might just have to run. Suzy and Putrick actually just fully confirmed this. They might have a free fight on their hands. I mean, look at the opposite side. 300, 300, 300. They're going to be looking fine, but obviously there's no way they can know. How far taking out Jarko. I was about to talk about the fact of Creaky and everyone else around that POI. And now Nebs and Hellfire get to choose their fights. They saw Jarko about 200 meters in the distance the last time we were watching them. And now they have that squad actually halfway out of game 2. Teeny, I mean, if the strat works once, run it twice. We'll just wait again.
We'll see if it ever pays off for them. I think now they'll be a bit more aware with every room and every corner they take. It just takes that one time to make you more alert.
Here's that POV with Hellfire. Lots of people will be looking at this fight, but all they can really do is try to go for a few tags. Clone's gonna be by himself, Voxy, DKS. Look at them, maybe actually push this one if they can, but if they try to go forward, another team will shoot them. They have to use mats, so they have to essentially have like a mini shield bubble of pressure where no one can really get close, but they can interact with bullets. Nebs still going on, still moving forward with the pressure, but I feel like now they've invested just a bit too much. It's time to move on with the rest of the game.
Yeah, they need to start thinking about
Or not.
how they actually move on from this, right? Once they get out of here. But like you said, or not, they want to get it done. They don't want to give it up.
Okay, a little bit of a cost. There it is. No mats on Clone. That's what they're looking for. Points in the bag. No mats, though.
And that's some Straps. Big expectations on Straps playing in this grand finals. Playing with a player so experienced like Anas. There will be pressure there, but he's been living up to that pressure so far. They have looked good in moments, but again, it's one of those teams where I think things are going to have to be figured out over the course of the 12 games, right? Very much going to be plenty of learning experiences, and I think regardless of how day one goes today, day two will be a much better day for them, purely off the fact that they'll have that time to adjust and figure out how to maneuver around this Breakwater Bay area.
Talking to Pablo Wingo in between games. He says he's not sure if he's going for FNCS or creative box fight maps. But honestly, if that's the case, we should just keep going through with it. It's looking really good so far. Ola gonna have to back off. No chance for Vasquez to get this cash. These guys are looking strong.
It's just the scary thing is, right, it's just that, like, we saw the play they made for height last game, right? And a third moving height take is not something you see often, just because there's just not enough space in the zone to actually be able to take height really effectively. But like we saw, they make plays with the slurps, they can play in the storm, and it's really easy for them. I think they'll do that again today. We've got Diox and Cade here on our screens, though, and we're going to send it over to Takata to fill us in on what they've been up to.
Thanks, Levin. So they just got a combat cache, but when they started the game, right off the drop, they secured a capture point. And with recent changes, if you have both players capturing the point, you capture it faster than when there's just one player on it. So quickly taking advantage of that right off the battle bus. And just like Voxy and his duo partner here that did the same in Brutal Bastion, but you not only get loot from the capture point, you also scan the surroundings so you can see where the enemies are.
Love to see it. Love to have control. And to go back to that point you were talking about, yeah, Pablo Wingo Bevies with the height take. The most interesting thing that I saw out of that is they didn't even build for it. That was just bullets. They got a height take without even building for height. The power and pressure of just the shots and what they choose to shoot is just huge off that first game. Teddy Kemi, we're in that one in the same layer kind of them, but they didn't get as far in the game. Were they fourth, third?
No, they ended up just not going for height because they didn't have enough mats to really play for it.
Yeah.
And they're comfortable not playing for it. Right?
Okay.
We associate Kami and Seti with playing mid and low. I think this season the reason we've seen them playing height a lot more is just because they've finally started to figure out certain like better timings to look for it. In that game, those timings didn't really work out for them just because of their mat situation. So again, that's what you want to be. You want to be dynamic as a team. You want to have options. You don't want to be limited. We've seen that over the course of Fortnite history where teams look great on a certain layer. You take them off that layer, they look like floppers, right? So
got to make sure you're comfy on your couch. Staying at home. Tough to adapt to that much difference on the fly. Talking about some unfamiliarity this game as well. I mean, I never see this color on map updates, white. At least in EU. We're inside a winter zone.
hey, I'm happy. We're ticking off things off Levin's list already. Levin's list is active, baby. It's active.
Game of Zones is back. I've been waiting. Will Pink come back to life? That's what people are talking about.
We're here.
The chosen one.
The chosen one. Wow. I told you, it's my favorite show, Game of Zones. So
Yeah.
it's back in full force. Lots of plays being made here in the Storm, which isn't to be surprised, really. A lot of players are going to play around the rift points, right? They want to fight for those. These players here in the Storm in mud as well is not really a surprise, right? Using that to get into the safe zone when they can.
Can take his time still, though. Not going to be too high of a tick. Farshoki's just checking him a little bit. Then moving back. Not a joke of a team to be played with. House Tripper in this position, it's off of just clean shots like this.
Nice.
Jeanette. Didn't expect that one. Hardy will be up top, but oh, give it a second. Pablo Wingo Bevies aren't here just to see the island. They want to have some fun.
Yeah, but they've came a second too late because Tropex and Hutty have already claimed it. I think the big thing with a team like them that has so many slurps, right, from playing over towards the secluded spire is that they really can strut their stuff in fights for their island, right? Because if you know they are up there, you you know they have like 8 slurps. Like, I'm not fighting a team of 8 slurps. I'm not doing it. I'm leaving. Like, if I see they have 8 slurps, I am gone as far from the island as possible. Because not only are they just have enough to work with, to fight with, they're just willingly going to tank the zone. They know, hey, we can stay here in Storm for a couple minutes if we need to. And I might not have that power to fight with, but in this game, it won't be a problem for them because it's already been claimed. And Hutty and Tropex will be the ones to benefit from it. But the good thing is Pabu Wingu and Bevies can still benefit from the positioning of it. You see here, up, high up, using those mammoth pistols to take shots at players from afar.
You're talking about the island party and the win condition of the points. I mean, this looks like a solid game plan now for Pabu Wingu and Bevies back to back, right? First game, Rift Island and get the points, but they were there and got so much pressure and so much damage off of their position. Nice pickup from Kefis too. As he comes in on the backside, so many people actually in trouble and kind of worried about the verticality. They're missing out at more people moving in late from the zone. Blaha Mixon gonna be based up right beside him, and these guys will still have to move. Kevin will think it's gonna be safe to go on the backside, but there's more people inside the nether regions of the zone. They're all looking in for any movement at all and capitalizing. I mean, no one's missing right now.
Yeah, he didn't want to go out the left side of the box because Blaha and Mixon would have been waiting right there just to piece him up if he did. But like you said, even when going out the other side, still tagged up. Dexy and Hedra forcing the issue here on the zone line.
It's a huge game for Dexy and Hedra right now. They wanted to translate a fifth place overall in game 1 to maybe some consistency on the day. To have 2 elims now, they get a refresh off of a NOS and just have a little bit more to keep moving forward. I mean, they're up to 3rd at the moment right now, so it's huge for these guys. You see that leaderboard update.
Yeah, that's not bad at all for Dexy and Hedra. Not a team that many people expect to be in this kind of position, but that's what it's all about, proving the people wrong and showing what you can do. Vidil and Savage, though, way on the other side of the zone from all that chaos we were seeing earlier. And that does favor them, potentially, if they have their surge in check. And if they can get some better materials, then it won't be too bad at all. And now that Surge is updated, 19 above isn't the best spot to be in. So hopefully Vidil can start to hit some shots. That's going to be nice for their Surge total. Ooh, that would be very nice. The Rift coming through. He'll have his eyes all over that. You see, he instantly edits out a bigger peak so that he can just really focus on it.
They have like old chapter 2 videos like gotta push, like he still exists somewhere in the brain.
He needs to stay calm though, doesn't want to overextend.
Oh no.
And Vico, another game where they could be going down prematurely. Stuck in the storm here, and Vico's down. Pink's gonna do his best to fight it out, but it's not looking good, Shayo.
Gonna be forced to fight too low on Surge, so he has to get inside the box. Misha, Teeny won't wait this time. They get to the fight first. Still so far from Rift Island for where they need to be in the zone, and that's the same for Fast Roku, who I think is also involved in relatively the same area of fight. Yeah, it's right on to Misha. He's gonna get beamed all the way from the side of that Rift Island from the safe zone. Not only have to win this, but move to the zone in 44 seconds, then keep moving inside the Winterland where there's big glaciers and mountains in front of you. But you can't really have an opportunity to move. Fast Roku, you will get the med kit off, but he's just delaying the inevitable now, right? Unless you're landing 2 crazy shotgun shots and winning this out, yeah, there's no chance at all.
Yeah, and even for Misha and Teeny that win that fight with Zone pulling up to the northwest and so much congestion already just on the edge of the storm right there. Like, getting in for this team is going to be so difficult. And there was another team in the storm there, yeah.
What's he doing this late? I mean, I know you were going for rift shots inside the zone, my friend, but these guys are really late to class this time. Kiri's gonna be fine. A different entire type of game for them, way inside the pocket of the zone. They got the experience from playing every single week, but can they translate that to points today? Because off that first game, comparatively to the top 5, not looking too hot.
Yeah, I mean, they are a team that I think could surprise people this weekend, like to play for height at times. When speaking to the reigning champion of this season, or last season I should say, Queasy and Venom, of course they're not here. I asked Queasy who he thought could do really well, and he did say Ping and Kiri were a team he expected to do really well. So when you got those goats on your side, there's clearly something about you as a team.
This is gonna be such a tough zone though. Need to see Podesai. Snake's already down to the issues of Surge. Podesai trying to just keep a few things alive, maybe get lucky here or there with stragglers coming in from the zone. You'll notice overall what the zone looks like too. Just pay attention to the future after we're done with Podoside's POV. He's gonna actually run down from box to box. They have all the stilts to play with. Podoside gonna escape his own demise, his own doom chamber, as Anchor's after him, but eventually he will go down. They made a big investment to run to this point. I'm not sure if they doubled back from the Glacier side, but you can see the difference in elevation for a lot of different moments inside this zone. Where is Jakey even coming from? Staying alive this much inside the zone. I don't see the slurp ticking, but he's got to move, almost there. I'm not sure he's gonna be able to make it in time, and yeah, that fly is not gonna make him drive by.
I like the ambition, but yeah, everyone was going to be watching him coming in there.
Scavi actually, with Vacant, switched his drop slot to be a little bit more northern base. They're landing a little bit closer to Kenjutsu, contesting Roban Axe Force in general, but right before game one, about an hour before, they decided to switch things up, go towards that Lonely Lab side. Gonna be huge, but just look at this POV, right? Not only are you moving beside teams, but you're going underneath these chasms, valleys, big bridges of ice above you. Movement here is gonna be so tricky. So many mats are gonna have to be used. 5th place already down, so more teams can try to come around. I mean, it's just game 2. You can still make a name for yourself on the leaderboard, but the terrain you have to traverse this time is almost impossible. We don't see winter zones often in EU, and when we do, Levin, it is catastrophic for so many teams.
Yeah, it's such a weird area to traverse, like you said, just because of the different changes and elevations you get.
Huge for Hedra here. I mean, doesn't have Dexy by his side, but still alive. He might be able to find a few mats. This might just be Dexy's body, though. I don't see any other mats either. He will have zone for now. Those mats have actually slid down. Hopefully it's a lot to keep him going. Curb on the back. I mean, how do you even get through that portion of the zone? Vadil's not going to be able to make it. He goes down to Anchor, who is still hunting people on the shady stilt side of things. And yeah, now everyone has to move down again. So all these people who thought they had the dead side locked in and didn't use as many mats and stayed on the north keep getting max zone after max zone after max zone. Tripper doesn't make it. Trades out with Misha, but he might be able to just get picked up. It's just the knock. Gold and Anchor, who we saw push box after box after box, are still down on Search.
This is so tough. Every team we switch to is just shambles on Search.
I feel like I'm a doomsday reporter. You know what I mean? Like, this is
there's just no good news.
I don't.
None.
A single team in an amazing position. Even the ones who are good are taking trades. And once you have a little bit of a sight of the sky, you're getting beamed again. You just see broken shields. You can't even see clouds. I mean, you might be able to dream about them in game 3. That's exactly what Gold's going to be doing. His Anchor does get a bit of a trade. He'll have some points to keep him moving, but this is just tough. Still 100 below.
Yes, it doesn't get much better. it really does not. Of course, for Anchor, he really will hope it can, because with what he has in inventory and material-wise, things aren't too bad. It's just the positioning and the surge that's been the issue. Gonna pop this slurp, and of course the splashes will help him in getting towards the safe zone. And worst case scenario, if people do start shooting, he has more than enough materials to build his way in. But even then, been able to cheap out a little bit, but finally the spray starts to come through.
Rift Island still in the zone, and I believe there is a duo up there.
Yeah.
And the verticality, the pressure from the skies right now. I mean, this is rain that does damage. And Anchor's not going to be able to keep it going. It'll be hide on bush, and we're stashed that stop him in his tracks.
Savage is still up. We saw Vidil going down early, and he wants to go up to the Rift Island. I can't blame him. There might be some spare loot for him there. Cammy and Say, you're going to opt to go underneath it, though. They don't want any of those problems. And, of course, you can always expect to find them on the dead side of zone.
It's Thomas and Malabuka who are up here, and looks like are just CEOs running the lobby, trying to find a way to get towards that launch pad. It's going to cost them so much. I mean, that's basically all you hear is to be able to work with the zone. We'll be able to get in. That's right into the sight lines of Mappy up top, who has that ultimate height. Malabuka low HP. Thomas HD has to get right beside him, and does. Segmented layers, but they're looking good.
That was really nicely done, especially from Thomas not to get tagged up by anyone as he moved through the stack of Malabuka, I should say. He can now just lead the way, and he will follow. This team is one of the few teams we've been able to look at, and they do look strong. They do look like they have what it takes to win this game.
This is where Thomas has to go big now, though, right? Malabuka's got him to this point. It's time to act, get that big damage, see what's good. Resguard Tripper, though, been a little bit you know, stumbling over their feet, fight after fight, a little bit of big trades on health, but now it's all about taking shots together. They're so good sticking side by side. Refsguard is slipped out to his own portion in zone, but has done enough damage. Lost, although, on the side of Tripper. I talked about how good they are sticking together. This time, it's not going to be possible.
Fighting on ice, it's so difficult. You saw him slipping and sliding, couldn't really find much control in his movement, and that will cost him. Trippin didn't want to fight though. He just wanted to run to zone, and it's kept him alive in the game.
This is trouble for everyone though, as you see the map actually pulling up. Tripper goes down, so he won't have to deal with this doomsday scenario. Thomas AC Malavuka, they're staying sky high. All these people below them on a timer and on pressure too, as Cammy gets beamed down by Malavuka.
They might need to get one of these bodies though that has fallen. You can see there the mats. He's looking at them, he's eyeing them, but he sees the players as well. Because ultimately, at some point, they're gonna have to make a decision. Do they go high? Do they go low?
Mammoth pistol misses, but the plan is still looking absolutely pristine. Bevies lost his wings, but he's going to be able to still keep a little bit of flight in this game. 0 seconds on the med mist, has some slap splashes. It's going to be good for now. No mats, just a chance, a gun, a vision for him, and destruction in front of him. Two different duos on one side, 185 on the other. Malavuka stopped, and Thomas as well. This man is the ultimate machine. Bevies can't be slowed down.
Again, they take them out, but this time it's Bevies all alone. How has he managed to do it in this game? 4 limbs. These guys are on an absolute roll, no matter who you put in front of them.
Oh.
They seem to keep it going, finally put to an end. But what an end it was. Hyden, Bush, and Mustache still on height. And there looked like the team set up perfectly. Seti missing Cammy desperately. Can't even get moments to get his shields off. Finally, will hide behind this metal wall. But this is really not the kind of game they would have wanted. They would have wanted to be here together. Now he just has to make it happen as a solo.
Let's see Grippe on the other side, absolutely just torn down from a drop. And after that, Mustache out on Bush are going to be doing the same thing. Looking at Swizzy the exact same way. 2v2v2 for the moment. The last team, kind of seen on the backside, it's two different solos. It's Slove and Seti. Seti absolutely ripped apart. Mustache has all the angles.
Mustache doing exactly what he's paid to do. Get a limbs. And now there's just 3 more standing in his way for their first win here in the FNCS.
They're blacksmiths right now, letting the metal actually heat up and then absolutely cool down. Mustache is there to clang it down again. Slove gone away. It's about to be the time to build a masterwork weapon here. A victory in game number 2. They're just breaking apart build after build and want that angle safely down below. Hot on Bush able to just absolutely get the best spot up top. Everyone else will just melt down. Mustache will find him first though. Future trying to heal off. Mustache on the backside. Big beat, 180. What is this man on? And again, he can just end the game himself. We don't need heals when you have Mustache playing like that.
Jason was ready for the heal off, but Mustache said, nah, we're ending this game right now. I ain't got time to waste. Let's jump into game 3. That's what he wants to do. What an end to that. All of those limbs there, all of them you could add to a highlight reel. He was popping up 180s here, there, and everywhere. Mustache is on a whole different level.
They say his arm has its own brain when it's the end game. Mustache is just nuts when it comes to these situations. I feel like he thought he didn't even have a teammate at this point. It's just about him surviving, thriving, and making sure he wins this game.
Absolutely unbelievable from that team. I think the big thing about them, the Cash Cup this week, they were so close to winning it. People were going, hold on a minute, you've thrown this Cash Cup, it was an easy win for you. But when I was watching them, it was clear to me they were practicing height takes, practicing the timings to be able to play high ground. And here in game number 2 of the Grand Finals, look where they are, up on height. The practice has paid off, and they're winning games. Are they gonna go for it? They won Major 1, came second Major 2. It looks like they wanna come back around and min Major 3.
It might just be it, but they have Titans to take down. I mean, Bevies can't be stopped. Thomas HD, Malavuka also staying alive game after game. So many storylines. We need a whole desk to break it down, so let's toss straight to them.
Shio11, thank you very much. Game 2 is in the books, and the big hitters came out swinging, Mini.
Yeah, they did. That was a crazy end game. Something that just had so many twists and turns. And finally, we had a snowy zone. For
We
the
did.
first
Levin's
time.
list,
It seems
tick
like
it
Levin's
off.
the tick it off. I mean, that's our one for the weekend. There you go. That's it.
Yeah.
Getting out of the way early on. But now I'm sure Mustache and Haidon Bush, they did a phenomenal job to close that one out. And like Levin and Shai were talking about, it didn't even need to go to a heal off at the very end there. It was just Mustache, Haidon Bush, they snuck their way up onto height. As soon as they noticed that iDrop and Mappy managed to fall from height because they didn't necessarily have the build, is what I would have to assume, why we saw them start dropping in their layers. And Merstache did an excellent job at finding those refreshes.
Yeah, we've seen this team on hype before, and here we see it again, perfectly played, keeping on applying that pressure, and even going into this grand finals, a lot of people wouldn't have expected them to do well, because of course they were originally landing at that secluded Spire drop, but they thought, you know what, let's just get back to normal, let's just get back to what we know, and this zone, when landing at North Slappy, is a perfect zone for them. Of course, we have to talk about Merstache there at the end.
Yeah, no, it was just beautifully played because you would expect that there would have to be at least a little bit of heal-off possibility there. I mean, Tayson had the full setup. He had his legendary Slurp Juice primed, ready to go. He also had some great positioning with the way that moving zone started pulling back over those icy hills. And again, just not a necessity because Merstache just goes for the 1v2 opportunity and takes it.
I mean, all you can ask from your player when you're getting them to drop down is just maybe take out one. Maybe do a little bit of damage and I can heal off at the top if I'm a hide-on bush right now. He just takes them both out. He just does more than expected, and that's great.
No messing around for this duo. Let's take a look at how our standings are shaping up after game 2. And as you can see, Pablo and Bevies, I mean, Bevies at some points during that game didn't look human. I think we need to double check if he actually is human. But there's been some movement here, Taco, and things are starting to shuffle around a little bit.
Yeah, someone check in PC, but not actually a necessity here because Paulo Wingo, Bevies, more so the clutch, the solo clutch that we saw there from Pablo. And again, playing a little bit of Kryptonite, it seems like, because game 1, they take out Thomas Malabuka. Game 2, again, same storyline here for this duo. And I just... It's a sight to behold when you see a 1v2 and it's two players running into your box instantly, but Bevies just did everything in his power to ensure that this would not go through and just perfect shots.
Yeah, I was speaking to Mikkel behind the scenes who worked closely with, or has worked closely with these guys in the past, and he said to me, these guys are either going to have a really, really good day or a really, really bad day. So far, they're not having a bad start, are they? Of course, with that game 1 victory, a beautiful clutch from Bevies showing us that he is on form, feeling good. So hopefully for them, they can continue this momentum because being in first place after 2 games is where you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's one thing having a good day, but then you've got to have a good weekend.
Yes.
If you want to, of course, claim the Axe of Champions. Now, some other names are in the mix here that we did see perform well. Resgard and Trippin, of course, one of the duos.
Yeah, they did drop a couple of slots in the leaderboard positions overall, but again, we're only in game 2 here, and the main issue I think that's been a bit of a problem was Refs unfortunately unable to find his footing. He just had an instance where he was trying to take a challenge and unable to find the refresh.
It was this.
Unfortunately, just kept sliding along the ice as well. Bit of sabotage from that natural map terrain.
Yeah, the ice on your feet is never that easy to fight with. At that point, you just want to be placing floors down and trying to steady yourself, but I don't think they could do that in that situation. So, of course, Trippin had to solo clutch there at the end, trying to squeeze as many placements out as possible. But, of course, as it so happened, it didn't quite work out. Those endgame zones, those final zones, when they're in that snowy area, they're so difficult to play because there's so much different elevation, so much differences in the way that the zones are played with ice. Of course, you have flying things as well. Even the Rift Island made an appearance in that endgame, which I love.
Especially if you don't have builds. I mean, that was the primary issue we saw there for Trippin.
Yeah.
Guys, ever since I was invited to be a part of the show, I've been wanting to do this, all right? Can I do it?
Yeah.
It's time for Storm Surge. That felt good. I've been waiting for that.
You feel powerful.
I do. Obviously, this is a huge part of any Fortnite game, how players manipulate and go with the Storm Surge. And we want to focus on one of our duos in particular, Archie and...
Jakey Fan.
Jakey Fan.
This is a duo that we wouldn't expect to, perform well in Storm Surge. It's always the way that it goes when you have a first-time Grands. Storm Surge is always the question. You can either play it well, you can play it badly. In game number 1, they didn't play it too good. And in game number 2, it hasn't been working out for them either. We see them on the map right now towards that south side, and they're trying to sort of rotate around onto that dead side. We saw Archie getting a big tag at the beginning, a 116, but they just struggled to continue to get those tags throughout that rotation. And ultimately, when you're rotating to the dead side, there's less players, hence the name dead side. There's less players on that area, so there's no people to tag.
Yeah, this was a little bit rough for them as well, with the zone pulling so far north, considering that they start very south of the map towards north of Kinjutsu Crossing. And I think the mentality here for Archie and Jakey Fan, it's the right idea to transition through these rotations with the dead side rotation, but at the same time, you have to ensure that you've got the adequate surge damage tags in advance. And we saw a couple of nice man pistol shots. I mean, Levin mentioned it. We got a 2-for-1 so far off the Levin's list today, but Mammoth Pistol wasn't enough for this team to fight damage because, again, they just needed bodies to actually encounter to get those damage thresholds.
Yeah, I think it's about having good ideas, and then if they don't pay off, you've got to be able to adapt on the fly, right?
Yeah, you have a backup plan. I think the issue for Archie and Jakey fan right there is they thought, yeah, we've got our Surge off spawn, let's go to dead side and have a nice easy game.
Yeah.
They didn't get enough. That's where the Grand Finals experience comes in. You need to know how much Surge you need to do and how much damage you need to deal, because if you don't do enough, you're going to be caught out.
Game 2 done.
Yeah.
I'm having a good time. I think we've got a Pink fan here, by the way. I haven't alluded to this yet.
Yeah,
Need to think ahead.
maybe a little bit of bias. but-
Okay, all right. Guys, are we ready to get into game 3?
Always ready.
We're about to enter into the halfway point once this one is done and dusted. Let's not waste any time. Let's get right back on that battle bus with Levin and Shire for game number 3.
Game number 3, and Ian, what if I want to waste some time? What if I want to reminisce and think about that game too, because that was like 6 games in 1?
Look, if you want to waste time, I'm not with you on this one, because I want to hop right back in, because that action we saw there was crazy. And I think it only gets crazier because the zone's clearly all over the place, right? I talked about wanting to see more North zones. We got a North zone, and it didn't disappoint, right? That was one of the crazier end games we've had all season. I think the pressure's really starting to get to these teams. They're feeling it. Some of the better players in this lobby are shaking in end games. I'm not lying. They're shaking.
Yeah, it's not just the best players doing the best. It's some of the best falling under that pressure. Speaking of pressure, let's make some diamonds or something in game 3, because we're jumping out of that bus. It's looking good. I want to tune in with Pink and see exactly where he is and what's going down. I mean, the 50-50s on this map are absolutely entertaining to watch this time around. Sometimes on EU11, I feel like some of these fights, they end up going one way or the other. A little bit of a snooze fest, but over here, it's action, action, action all the time.
Yeah, especially at the Spire. And last game we saw Shaykos and Skydin had better drops, but it didn't really matter at all. It was all about the weapon play in the end, and this time round, it looks like he'll be in their favor. Bevy's down, and so it's up to Pablo Wingo to do the spectacular. It's not out of his possibilities, but it's certainly not going to be easy as they come pinching from both sides. He'll mantle up, but it's just them lays the inevitable pickaxe to finish things off. And so Pablo Wingo and Bevy's going down here, and they've been one of the best teams in this lobby, but we will not be seeing them in game number 3.
I can hear it all the way from here, a collective sigh of relief from 90 players as they see Pablo Wingo and Bevy's go down. First place by 50 points, and it's because they're absolutely just terrorizing everyone else on the island. Nathan and Jakey's have a little bit of a pep in their step too as they get defensive at the Frenzy House. Blaha Mixon, gonna take it patiently as usual.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. They are a team that I think I'm very excited about, because when given opportunity to play games out, they're clearly gonna be a force. It's just a matter of how that dice roll goes off spawn. Blaha and Mixon, they've been dominant off spawn against Jakey and Nathan, and they're now looking to go for the 3-peat. They've done the back-to-back.
If this game does not go well off spawn for Nathan and Jakey, it's not just about going down, but the access to loot and everything. It actually might just be about going down here. What a shot from Jakey's to respond back. If it doesn't go too well, they gotta start thinking about alternatives on day 1. I mean, 3 games just will seem to be wasted off spawn. Could go better at a different spot, and that's where, you know, Pink and Vico start to ask a few questions. Will this be an easy FNCS for us, or trouble off spawn once again? This is a switch up overall too for Kenty and Peshka. They weren't expecting Vacant and Skvi here until about very, very early portions of this tournament. A game 1 switch up for them, and you can see the pressure. It's a good switch too. As once again, 2 free elims for Skvi. A little bit of disrespect on top too. They're feeling good after that fight.
Yoko trying to stay in the game. They went down earlier in game 2. But 2v1 is not the easiest of situations to deal with, especially against DKS and Vox, who are clearly going to be a bit more patient in their approach to this fight, not just going to jump in willy-nilly.
Feel bad for Jocko and Clone. I mean, if it's not Vox and DKS, it's Neb's Hellfire coming to you from the left side. Might just be time to send it at the Spire. Why not, you know?
Throw yourself into that mix.
Yeah, if it's happening here, let's happen it there.
At least if you in there, you know, you get 18 slurps. Like.
Guys are Slurp Samuel. It's crazy.
Hold on a minute. What's bro cooking?
9 HP. Might be overcooking, but so far still tasting good.
Wait a minute, Shia, look. I don't know. If he gets
Whoa.
reviving, DKS ain't got mats. Wait, Shia, wait.
up. Gargo looks like the truth right now.
Wait.
What shot? Oh!
What? Jarko, are you kidding? The 1v2, we were doubting, we were hating, we didn't believe in him, but he did it. Big shot there onto, oh, Vox didn't see it coming, and DKS didn't have the mats. Jarko, wow.
That's just perfect. Listen, I gotta apologize. I was not familiar with your game.
I was not familiar with Jarko's game at all.
I'm talking about the Spire. Let me take that all back. Stay here. Thrive. But Vazil Savage also having a good time.
Yeah, and it's Archie they're taking out. Unfortunately,
Is that what they have to do? Target Archie to get the game going.
I mean, look,
It's a rough time, man.
yeah, it's not great, is it? That is tough. A very, very tough spot to be in. JP Fan now has a lot of work to do. This might be a bit more of a difficult 1v2 to handle.
Ooh. Wraparound shot from the deal. Cone in the box.
Wait.
Invites him in. 91. 50-50. Both at what? Collective 4 HP. But deals on the damage. It's time to let Savage loose. One peek. A little bit of an error. It's all good. He can jump back up again. Control. 2 peeks down. All right. Vidil's ready to go again. Savage done his job. Send him back out.
I'm sad. Just because I know for a fact if he had taken Vidil down and gotten the knock, he was getting the 1v2. Like 100%. I saw it. Like if he had gotten Vidil down there instead of 3 HP, 100% the 1v2 happens.
It's close.
Almost. In another life.
In another life. We saw the instance of it. Jibber Rexgard in that last game spent so much time inside the zone. I mean, we saw lots of eliminations as a result, but these guys did not make endgame for some elusive reason. I mean, flying in at 9th zone from so far away, getting taken down. Gotta be wondering what's up, but that winter zone is just kind of awkward. Meanwhile, Yarko's not done. Yarko's done.
Yeah. Well, it's fine. He provided us with a moment we will never forget.
Nah,
Nonetheless,
this is what it is. If it's not 2 people, Yarko will not win.
he needs the
1v1s, I
1v2.
sleep. 2v1s, I'm awake.
Yeah, it sounds accurate.
Fireball Curb also working it around. Creaky's getting a little bit more congested as that mid-game starts up. Obviously, no one's in this base at all. Pay no attention to the bush.
I think it's more of a matter of making it harder to predict his peak, right?
%. Paco Yapko. A little bit of trouble in on rotation, but I feel like every team now is kind of on top of how much surge they need, how many fights they've taken. This might just be necessary to stay on top of the numbers. 88 people still alive in game number 3. I'm liking the versatility from Tini and Misha, right? We got trap plays, staying still for 3 minutes, and then aggressive box fights where they take charge. On the right side too now. Might still be wintry, who knows? Zone analysis, you rate the zone out of 5. How many stars?
7?
7 out of 5, or 7 out of 10.
Oh, sorry, out of 10. Oh,
My bad, I said 5, that was my fault. That's a hard
My
skill.
bad.
Yeah,
My bad. Regardless, we've had a similar zone in the Cash Cup this week, actually, in game number 1, so we'll see if it keeps pulling towards the beach side. That's where I'd expect it to go. Tini and Misha, in that case, would have quite the way to go to get there.
We saw with Trexer and Hydro in game 1, it was just about being overwhelmed in the end game. But overall, these guys are really good at taking fights, playing to the win condition, getting the spots they need to get to.
Yeah, I think after seeing the zone pulling more towards the east, they've decided, look, we want to get ahead of all these other teams. They've got some nice sort of valleys that they can rotate through where they won't be seen much. And of course, you saw them dip in the mud before they went as well, just to give them that speed boost to get there.
That they end up avoiding every team that's like at Shattered, at Fatal as a result. You saw how finicky the zone line is, right?
Yeah, 100%. So much congestion on that side, and they just avoid all of it.
Yeah.
Really nice rotation from that team.
Chula Chicho have the option of doing that too from the south side. But they're electing to stay in Slappy for just a little bit longer. Get your medal up. For Axe Force, I mean, this should be a good zone to play with overall. You avoid a lot of the teams coming in from the left. You're able to keep moving up on that right side. Go through Naughty, go through a lot.
The problem with not fighting and getting your surge on congested side in these kind of lobbies is that you have to take fights like this, right? More close quarters, box fight engagement. And sometimes those can be the riskier ones, right? Because 1 second you think everything's sweet, next second you get put in the whoopty. Axe Force and Robando, even though they are confident fighters, they won't overindulge in any action. Instead, opting now to just get ahead of that team and try and milk them for surge as they rotate through. They say, look, you guys are going to have to go north if the zone keeps pulling there. You're going to have to rotate through us.
You speak more on rotations and how the early game's been going. We got Takada on the sidelines.
Thanks, Shayo. What I love about Refsguard and Trippern's drop is they land at a gas station close to the center of the map, and they can loot up so quickly that this permits them to instantly start rotating around and looking for their tags, even making use of the natural healing on the map. Later on, you can see they're highly elevated in the jungle biome, taking shots. But what I like most about this is that Refsguard has one of the Mammoth pistols, which is extremely efficient at long range. They switch positions here, where he can take some shots from above, while his duo partner Trippern is at an other side, also looking for tags.
Noted. Get your pen and paper out, write that one down. I think the big thing with Trippern and Refs is that they are a team with so much experience that, like, the typical things you expect to phase a team in a grand finals of an FNCS, like, you don't give them that leeway. They don't get that leeway. They've been here. They know what it is about. And so you don't expect to see them struggling with Surge, especially now that they don't have to worry about, like, the off-spawn fighting, right? It should be much easier of a time for them.
Dive over to a mid-map zone this time too, so yeah, absolutely no excuses. Should be good to go. Rift Allen spawning in. Shaco Skydoom not going to be able to just absolutely walk all the way across. Looks like their builds are just a little bit too close, so shot down. This is such an important push though. 15 points on the line. And looks like they're not going to be able to get there first. It'll be Ping who's going to be on that island. Already taking that capture point, and yeah, I feel like Shakos has to be mad. Wow, one build of a difference costing you about 15 points.
Hey, it's not over yet. They will stalemate on it for a second.
Skyrim does not want to give this up. Shut up, though. And pulled back. Ping's reacting at nanosecond speeds to edits. Looking for an aggressive take now. Could wrap around the backside, but it's just too risky. These guys are so locked into this fight, they're not even sure as to who else could come to this island. We do see some people rotating on the north side, could be going straight under. Just gonna be a very, very tenacious 2v2 up top in the skies. Everyone else is just kind of moving under. It's nice for the island to spawn here. Give a little bit of reprieve and distraction for a lot of people who are coming through late. Cammy, trouble again on rotation as it's Snazy who takes them out. I know Snazy's kind of king of the jungle around these parts, this northish middle side of the map. But you wouldn't expect someone like Cammy to fall through for some of these traps or have issues in getting into the zone.
How many teams are we at now? Up there. Look like a couple.
I think it still might just be 2. Here's Seti.
Nah, looks like 3 up there. Maybe even 4. I don't know, maybe one of them.
Brown team's under right now.
So there's 3 up there.
Yeah, yeah.
Not the 10 I'm looking for.
It's not an island party. It's like an island,
Get together.
yeah,
Yeah.
island company. All right.
That's a big swing in momentum for this lobby. Cammy and Seti, major players in endgame every time they're there. And just getting walked over way earlier in the game.
That's more room for Bevies and Pablo. Oh, wait, they're not here either. So this entire kind of section of mid-ground that is frequented by the same 2 teams is going to be open for play. And a lot of the pressure that's put down inside endgame. I mean, moments where Seti and Cammy are down, I feel like when I was watching the other 3 weeks, Nazy Podeside were really good at taking their type of spots and putting a lot more pressure down on people who are on low ground. Also, no one to just 1v2 randomly over and over again. Thomas Malabuka gonna be able to just do their own thing. I think Vico still on the left side. They're choosing to go and wrap all the way towards the north.
And it's a much better looking game for them. Every time you tune into Pink and Vico in the mid game, loots wasn't good, materials weren't up to par, Surge was not the best either. This game, we have to figure out what the Surge situation is, but at least for the mats and the loot, it's looking top notch. And it turns out the Surges as well, so finally a game for us to see them at their best.
Mammoth South, all Pink has to do is just not make some mistakes. That's all it is. They've got the freedom of choice, movement. And they'll choose to stop right here. Triple Refs guard. Lots of shield plans to use, lots of time to get their mats up. But once again, we saw their late rotation in that last game cost them ultimately and how much freedom they had on where to go and what to choose.
Trippin and Refs way in the storm. And of course, with 2 of the top 3 going down, it's the perfect game for them to start to push their boundaries, establish a bit of a lead potentially. Of course, easier said than done, but certainly within the realms of possibility for that team. And they will look to rift to zone as well. And obviously going straight up towards the north, trying to close the difference between them and the island and get to zone. Hide and Bush and Mustache after their win in that previous game. Perfectly timed and perfectly executed height take. Mustache at his best fragging wise. That had been a problem for them this season. Mustache struggling with confidence. But after that first game, he will be feeling it now. And hopefully that will propel them into more success. The timing on the rotation, not ideal there, as they have to stop instantly after getting tagged. We'll give fault to Hyde on Bush on that one. He is the one that leads the way for this team. And once he heals up, they'll be right back at it.
Lots of people are going to be questioning who's beside them instead of looking straight at Mustache and Hyde on Bush, and more people so focused that they're not going to be able to move as much getting in. They're going to be stuck in fights like this. Dexy, Hedra, going all in again. Pickaxe out as trying to claim walls turns into an absolute situation of demise for Hedra. Goal's going to be able to pick up the next. Him and Anchor picking up scraps, it seems like, over and over again, the 6th and 7th zone.
Yeah, and it's all they can really get, right? I think when you're struggling to find solutions for Surge, you will desperately do anything that at least puts you up, and you'll hope that you can get to a good spot in the zone afterwards. Storm Surge becomes such a priority in these lobbies.
Buddy and Tropex. Another max pull. If you're on the south side, you are praying that the next zone gives you just a little bit of time to think about what to do next. You have to defend your base from anyone coming in. You have to make sure you're on top of tags, and on top of that, you don't have enough time to keep it moving. Vico and Pink look so good. Now their loot seems to be dwindling. Their shields, their freedom of movement seems to be an absolute question. Chari and Gears down below are not giving them an easy time. They're barely just above Surge for the moment and looking like an absolute trouble.
It's just the worst possible pool. As an IGL, no matter how good you are, you might try to cook up something, and no chef's getting out of this one. This is such a tough spot to be in.
I mean, even with a rift on the previous zone, Tripper's also in the same spot. Perfect situation. Amazing rotate, delayed even. It's not going to be good.
Yeah, you just have to start running in and using the builds you have. Everyone's going to be running side by side. You just have to hope that the team that you're running past doesn't try fight you.
They have to, though, Surge, right?
Vico and Pink have to be the ones to take a fight, right? Dealing damage where they can, because they do need to get up above that threshold. An opportunity certainly will be there. A big shot from Vico to try and move them up and get them to safety. Wrapping around the right side is going to be a good bet for them as they move in. And Vico right now leading the way, leading the charge and doing so well. Players now set up in the zone will now start to look back and look at Vico, and that's why he's making sure to build a couple extra walls where possible. But again, just sliding through and hitting shots where possible.
Pink behind him is the question. Or in general, where is Pink? As I just see Vico right now, huge map refresh too to keep him moving. Pink's actually in front, so they're both just kind of following each other. At the same time, just doing their own solo strides. Vico slightly trapped, but he can take a mini break, a breather. But we're getting straight to Pink, but Pink gets knocked down. Trouble in Dual Paradises. Vico's done a good time, or has done a good job so far, playing his time as a solo. Pink melting in the storm on the knocked body. He'll know exactly where all the mats are. Traxxer's gonna be the one to stop him. Is gonna be the one to stop him in his tracks.
Yeah, they need to be careful. He wants to go for that, but it's gonna be so tough. They rotate now, and that might give him the window to do so. He made the best out of a bad situation, but there's an even worse one on the horizon because he has to keep going north.
Oh, man. And this time, it's not going to be all the way across where you could do what he just did, right? Dash towards the right, go through buildings. It's everyone going on the same side, congested on the left through a half bounce back. And it's Thomas HD and Malabuka. We're going to be knocking and stress testing people on their boxes, making sure they're not only aware of the rotate, but the danger that's residing in front of them as well. Is going to be tough once again, though, as Malabuka fumbles on this one. Not going to be enough time to actually pick him up. I mean, good cost conversion on points, but in terms of survivability for the rest of the game, it's just Thomas HD now.
Yeah, and he's just going to have to hope these splashes can get him in. These guys have struggled on some of these rotations to make it through alive together. But either way, they'll have to figure it out next game. Right now, the focus for Thomas has to be salvaging as many points out of this game as possible. He's been so dominant this season, but when he's getting big chunks of damage taken out of him like that, there isn't really much this young GOAT can do.
What's dominance to a Mammoth pistol is the question, because it takes your HP down and stops your momentum in its tracks. No Seti, no Kami, no Thomas Malabuka, no Bevies, no Pablo Wingu. I see Stacey and Podesai trying to go a little bit for that high ground. I'm seeing no one else that's really in the caliber to contest them up top in these skies. This might just be their game.
Yeah, and look at the front of the zone. Mr. Savage and Vidil moving on dead side, making sure to only use the wood they had, right? Saving as much materials as possible before basing up here in the brick. Pruchik gonna run right past. You wouldn't think this is an FNCS Grand Final endgame the way he was moving. That was nice and easy for Pruchik, but he needed that because he doesn't have many materials to work with.
Once again, it's just this absolutely unorthodox zone, and now we're back inside that winter biome. We're going up against glaciers. Yeah, Savage doing a really good job at surviving right now, but he's gonna have to elevate. He's gonna have to get up and switch layers, go down once again, stay on top of getting refreshes, and no one's living. We saw how good Traxxer was off. He's gonna be going down to Chicho. Dias not gonna be able to make it in the zone either. Vico doing a really good job to get here by himself, but it's cost him so many mats, and they need about triple to get past this next spot. He gets found out, down to just 8 more builds. Turn that over to 5 as he needs to stay alive. Just tough for the man right now, but he can delay as much as possible.
Yeah, and that accelerator shotgun, he's gonna hold it out. If you can hit a shot, he'll start running a bit faster. That would be ideal, even if it is a small little tag, and that's all he needs right there. Now we'll sprint his way on in, and you can see him just zooming through the right side. Everything working out perfectly for Vico. There is he's looking for even more nice little plays, trying to take anybody out of this game, but knocking on the wrong door. Snazy wasn't having any of it, but it actually will cost Snazy his own life as he moves up this glacier. Podesai just gonna play the slow game.
Looked like they were in Valhalla for the moment, but every team that tried to go for height was absolutely chopped down by just this zone. And Skydune and Shakos, who from the jungle get all the way up top on the icy depths of Brutal Bastion. Savage, though, climbing towards the skies at the cost of a deal. He has height, and it's a solo showdown up top, and he has the shots. Build though on defense for Shakos. The Savage goes towards the right side. Siphon's not his. He has the splashes to keep staying alive, editing down and going straight Bruce Forts for this elimination, but it's not going to be possible as Shakos survives.
Shakos hiding deep in the storm, and now we'll try and make the journey back in. It's Podesai in there, in the safe zone, and Svi and Vacant just waiting to try close out this game. They haven't got many materials, but they have the best setup to do it. The only duo remaining, and they know where both players are. Need to chop Shakos down, and they need to get it done with quickly.
They got no mats. This might just be it. One down. Podesai gets the Siphon. Podesai has the mats. His enemy's out of absolute gas. There's nothing for him to do. A turnaround, and it's enough with the beam. Ski V could not follow up, and Podesai wins the game.
He just should not win that. But when it's Podesai, there's always a chance. You would have thought Vacant and Skivvy, even with no match, should close out the game. You know where both players are. They have the weaponry to take them down. But Shakos holding out in the storm for so long created that distraction for Podesai to sneak in and clutch up the turnaround onto Svi. And Podesai picks up the win. I was definitely not expecting that one.
That was not on the charts. That was not in the blueprints or the plans, but that is just huge. A perfect medkit heal off. They heard him doing it too. They had it in their tracks, but Shakos does not go down without a fight.
Yeah, look, Podesai is that guy right now. Snazy as well, keeping them in the game. That shot onto Vico. When Vico sneaking behind him, that could have been very, very bad. So even though he went down earlier, he still helps the team to get the dub. A big win for the Frenchies.
This might be a difference maker in the 12 total games all these teams have to play over 2 days. But for this one, let's break it down. Ian, what we got?
Hey, thank you very much, Shia and Levin. We are officially at the halfway point of day one of the FNCS EU Grand Finals. Snazy and Podesai, what a finish from Podesai. Like Levin said there, I don't think anybody expected him to clutch up.
No, that 180 flicker around shot is the last thing that Svi saw coming, but at the same time, Podesai is such an experienced player that it's almost not that surprising to see him clutch it out.
Yeah, it really isn't at all. And what won in that game was that med kit play right there at the end. He took a Ticket Storm, he was able to pop that med kit, kept him further back, and of course he let the rest of the lobby just battle it out a little bit. Came in, did the cleanup crew, did the great job, and of course managed to hit that massive shot at the end. What a game.
Yeah, it's crazy how much experience pays off in tournaments like this, right? But some of our most experienced players didn't finish as high as we might have expected, but we can now look back at some of the highlights from our winning duo.
Now, actually, one of the more interesting facts about this lobby is that our entire top 5 in the leaderboards heading into this match were all eliminated by the 10th zone. So a little bit of shakeups that I would imagine to be expected here after this finish, and that's a great point to start for the halfway mark. But as far as Podesai and Snazy are concerned, I'm sure they're feeling great. They've got a little bit of momentum now building off of this last battle here. And again, I think that for Svi and Vacant, they still did a fantastic job playing things through.
Yeah, it's a really great job for them. Of course, the zone was up towards their drop spot, so you'd expect them to do well. But of course, that final zone, the final zones in that 8th zone was really, really tough. It wasn't easy at all because it pulled back up into that snowy area, into that sort of higher elevation. So for all of our teams that were not planning for that on low ground, they just got suffocated out.
Yeah, absolutely. Our winning duo, of course, had what it takes. We can see how it all stacks up in our leaderboard right now. Every single time we pull this up, I'm anxious to see where we stand, but Snazy and Podesai now sitting pretty up top.
And again, we don't see Skydune and Shakos in the top 10 yet, but that was a pretty big match for them because they finally make it out of that Secluded Spire contest. They finally take down Pablo Ingo and Bevies, and what do we see? It's Shakos solo clutching to a top 3 placement, which is not an easy position to be in.
Look at that though, Snazy and Podesai moving up 13 places in that leaderboard. It just shows that one game can make all the difference. Particularly when all of the top teams are no longer present, that is when you need to pop off. If you're one of those teams in that sort of 5th, 4th, that sort of region, you need to make sure that those games count.
Yeah, we've got some Putrick and Swizzy highlights that we can take a look back now as well, guys, because another straight great performance from another duo that continues to surprise us.
I wouldn't necessarily say surprise, but I mean, Putrick and Swizzy, we've seen them in the highlight reel moments in the past, but I think most importantly was Putrick's ability to kind of navigate those low ground layers. We saw him sticking a little bit more towards the backside of zone. He had a lot of great discipline as well on his rotations forward, because as a solo, you never want to be the first one through. You want to wait until you see some of those duos scattered around you, start to make their move first, and then you just hope that they don't have an opportunity to turn back around, but just did a great job keeping his walls in front of him.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And of course, if you're looking at this duo and thinking, hang on a sec, Swizzy and Shimoki, Shimoki, what happened there? A team that came from Asia, of course, that did really, really good when they first came out. They, of course, split, and it didn't quite work out for Shimoki, but for Swizzy right now, that is really where things are starting to pop off for him. It seems like the chemistry is there for them, even though they haven't been playing for too long.
Yeah, well, someone who has been playing for a very long time is, of course, Mr. Savage. At the very beginning, we highlighted him and said, look, we want to see big things from him, and there were some highlight moments for him there.
Of course, and again, for Savage and Vidil, I think that this is definitely a team that has so much talent behind them. The real question is still, can they continue to make it out of Naughty Nets? Because again, a really difficult rotation for them to make from that south side of the zone. And with the way these zones have been pulling towards the north side, maybe Levin's list had something to do with it.
It might have been. I mean, my favorite thing about that end game for them is that 10th or that 9th zone rotate. They went all the way on that dead side. They used barely any materials, which of course saved them so many for that end game. And that's why Mr. Savage was able to stay afloat and alive for so much longer, because they just saved so many materials. Everyone else on that congested side, they were just on their own. They were going for a nice little walk, and I like that.
All right, do you know what? Let's bring on, we've got some big brain analysts here, but it's time to bring a pro player onto the show. Please welcome Endretta. How are you doing? Are you having a good time enjoying the first couple of games here? Of course, we're now at the halfway point. What have you made of the competition so far?
I'm doing very good, thanks. And watching these 3 games so far, it's been pretty interesting. I'm hoping for Savage and iDope to do good. So I saw Savage's solo clutch. It was insane. I hope he keeps doing good.
Yeah, always fun to cheer on the fellow org mates. But as for yourself, I mean, we know that Grand Finals didn't necessarily pan out the way that you were hoping it would for you at Faki, but how are things looking for the Last Chance Major?
Obviously, we were 1 point off Grands, which is unfortunate. I do like the improvement me and Faki have had, though. And we're going to change our spot up. We were edge map before. We're going to land mid map now. And I think that's what's going to change from us not calling Grands to clutching it up in Last Chance then.
Now, of course, you're no stranger to Grand Finals yourself. What is the most important thing to focus on as a player in this lobby? In the top tier competition, how do you keep saying, how do you make sure that you're making your mental game strong?
I would say so many people, it's important to have a game plan, I would say, mostly. And Surge is obviously really hard in Grands and stuff. Prepare a game plan, find out which teams are landing next to you. And mental is so important. Just make sure you keep a good mental and have a good Surge plan.
Well, sticking with that, of course, we've talked a lot about the teams that are at the top of the leaderboard right now. What would your advice be to some of the lower teams? Because there's still a long way to go, right?
My advice would be, again, keep a good mental. Even if you're doing bad now, you still have many games to go and another day to go. So just look through replays, look what teams are close to you, get a better Surge strat maybe, and you can do better day 2 and rest of the games here.
Thank you very much. It's a shame you're not here, but listen, how can we find you? If anybody wants to follow you right now, which of course they do, where can they get you?
Pretty simple. My name is Endretta on every social media if you want to check me out.
All right, thank you very much, and we'll see you very soon.
See you guys.
Cheers. It's always fascinating, of course, to get that pro player analysis on who he thinks is going to do well, the sort of techniques that you can use. I really liked your question about the mental game and how you can stay strong, because ultimately you can't get fatigued, and that includes mentally, right?
Yeah, that's the most important thing, especially in this lobby. Skill, everyone has got skill. Everyone knows how to build. Everyone knows how to make those plays, but it's those that have the strong mental. It's those that have had the experience in these lobbies before. They're the ones that we start to see doing well and play consistently, because it's just another day at the office for them, right? It's still Grand Finals, but they've done it before, and they'll try and apply that knowledge.
And again, you also get to play into the part that this is only half of what Grand Finals actually consist of.
Yeah.
So if day 1 doesn't pan out in your favor, well, you still have a fresh 6 games to go in day number 2. But again, everybody looking to try and end on a high note. It's just about keeping the vibes high.
I mean, that being said, of course, you've still got day 2 to look forward to. But at the same time, you've got to lay those foundations early, right? If you put in that groundwork now, it does give you a little bit of leeway to potentially make some mistakes tomorrow.
I think of it like homework, right? You don't want to leave your homework right till the last day. You want to do as much as you can at the beginning, set yourself up, and make sure you're not stressing right at the end, because that's exactly what it's like for these teams.
Yeah, but after the halfway point, moving from games 4 to 6, I mean, this is where you start to really see the player adaptability come into fruition.
I feel like this was a little halftime show. That was nice, wasn't it?
There you go.
Let's move on to the second half of day 1. We don't want to waste your time. We want to get you right back over to your favorite casters in the world. It is time for game number 4. Let's do it.
The second half of the action is on the way. And based on what we saw in game 1 to 3, Shayo, these players have not come around to play, ironically.
They're here to play, unironically.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing to see what happens in game 4, because right now it's going to flip-flop every game, right? Power team, do they make it off spawn? Teams that are middling, do they pop off in the end game? Clutches, are they possible? It's different every game.
Yeah, I think that's the key, right? When you see the same things happening game after game, you almost can start to predict what's going to happen. I'm still yet to understand really what we're going to see by the end of today. Up there in the standings, let's hop right into the next game. Game number 4. The players will be ready and waiting to get right back to it and set their stakes for the course of the weekend. Of course, initially, right, it's going to be all about those off-spawn battles that we've seen. Some of them go in a certain way, then quickly changing in game 3. Maybe that was just a one-off. Maybe that will be the new pattern.
Yeah, ultimately, though, it's just what happens in these 5th to 12th zones, right? Where we're going over and over again, which is this north side Brutal Bastion. I think the most appropriately named POI situation that goes down, but let's just focus on the beginning. Pablo Ingo, Bevy, Skydu, and Shakos, round number 4. Let's keep it going. Pablo electing to go all the way down against the SMG. Not gonna fool around this time, looking up. Bevy's eliminated. Just him now, no materials, and it's done again. I feel like Shakos knows now, it's not about thinking, it's not about strategy, it's about get that weapon down and then get aggressive and go. All this time delayed is just enough for him to get absolutely eliminated off spawn.
So it's 2-2 at the Secluded Spire. Shakos and Skydu win out. And it looks like it's going to be 4-0 here for Blaha and Mixon, because even though Mixon took a large chunk of damage, these guys still in a favorable position. They finished Jakey, and Nathan's running around with not much HP at all.
Pink's timbers are shivering. Unfortunately, this fight not just has bad ramifications for Nathan and Jakey, it's just about who else is going to get dropped on in game 5 and 6, because that's where we see a majority of adjustments. When it comes to game 4, everyone's doing their last super try to see what happens. We know the Spire will go 6 for 6 today, and honestly, might go 6 for 6 tomorrow. I mean, Shakos off that last game, what, 3rd place overall?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, it's huge.
If anything, it just goes to show why it's such a spot to fight for, because after each team has won, they've gone on to have a very impressive game. And if you're Shakos and Skydoon, this has to be a good game again, because you almost want to make it worthwhile, that you're fighting for it, right?
Gotta play 2 games of points in 1, absolutely.
They're doing that.
They honestly have better drops every single time. I feel like Pablo Ingo and Bevies might play it better that second time.
So I got some secret sauce here, right?
Oh, okay.
Pablo Ingo and Bevies were messaging Yomzo and Rise, begging for a drop map. They were like, yo, guys, can you sort this out? I say begging, that's an exaggeration.
Yeah.
But they were asking for their drop map because, yeah, they're like their drops, they're not confident in their drops for this spot. And I think we're seeing that here today, where Shakos and Skydoon have the better drops more times than not.
Yeah. The one time Pablo ended up winning over dominantly is when Shakos unfortunately just had an AR. Meanwhile, their 2 drops had a pump and an SMG to work with. Hendy Peshka, see their fights all over to the sky, but this one being so early means that it'll stay low tier on the ground. Vasquez, what a shot to sneak through on that bottom side. And finally, after all this bombardment, one player's taken down, but that's a trade that happens once again. Older, all the way from a distance, coming in, avenging his teammate. He has some firepower, he has mats, full shields, combinations of weapons too, but he's gonna get an impolite hello to start the fight. Bait and switch though. On the backside, looking like he's struggling to get out of his box, but it's an easy edit. Easy over, as Vasquez also still inside the game, gonna be able to get revived. Switch over to Dexy now, who, after game 1, a little bit of that momentum stopped. Nice mammoth shot though, Belusi. Not in a base this time, can't just go for his own search. You gotta be looking at every angle, my friend, or you're gonna get absolutely railed in the head. That's another one. These guys are making it look easy.
The rock rotates. Good to see the rocks getting involved.
That's how the Pioneers actually moved from, like back in the old days. They rode on rocks.
Wow.
Here's Vox.
DKS and Vox, no strangers to sneaky plays, and they're trying to make it happen here. Not gonna lie. work out, but the fight will continue. Unfortunately now, for them, Clown and Grows are much more clued up to it here at Brutal Bastion.
Imagine more and more teams just staying closer to Brutal and maybe not even moving out, just so the rest of the game goes to plan if zones keep pulling this way. Vox DKSO, you saw, just getting a little bit of movement away from other builds, a little bit of freedom off of pressure. Yeah, immediately other teams are ready to just beam you down. You have to just stay inside this box fight. That's gonna be tough. Darko and Clone. I mean, this time he doesn't need a 2v1, but is he still strong if his teammate's up? That's the question.
Hey, Jarko, we know he's that kind of player that's gonna make it happen if need be. I think we will be saved from having to see any more devastating 2v1s for now as he disengages.
I want 2v1s to give you like +5 points.
I mean, I'm not saying no. I don't think we can make that kind of decision, though.
That's true. One day. Hot on Bush, Mustache. Interesting day so far for them. I feel like they've just been consistent overall, but not too flashy.
Yeah, you see them rotating through here. They're trying to get to mud as quickly as possible, just to be ready for when the cash comes in, and so they can rotate through. It's the kind of rotation that they kind of make on these zones a lot. One that can be taken advantage of if you are that team that was up there on that glacier, right? If you're expecting Hide on Bush and Mustache to come through, you can sort of position yourself in a spot to shoot at them, and there was a team there that did, so clearly some VOD reviewing going down, but nevertheless, I think they'll be able to charge their way on through.
Robot and Axe Force, a completely different day than they were expecting. 6 out of 6 fights off spawn gonna be just disappearing as their opponents leave towards the north side. As a result, Surge will be slightly different. They're gonna have to look for more box fights, and we saw that. You actually pointed that out, Levin, on one of the sides of the map. They're not gonna be in fast, they're gonna choose to delay and stay inside the zone, which they usually do. That's what ends up happening. This time though, a home zone, as it's more so on the bottom right side of the map. Snazy Podesat will have a little bit of a ways to go. No, it's actually top right. I don't know what I'm looking at. Is what it is. And sometimes you're turned around. These guys clearly aren't. Off a win. Can Podesat do it again? Back-to-back dubs?
Getting his first wins back-to-back would be kind of crazy, if you ask me. But it's not impossible, man. I think things sort of fell into place perfectly for him in that last game.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I think, you know, it's not easy to get it done. And these are players with experience and pedigree. You know, if you've been watching EU FNCS for a long time, Podesat and Snazy are names you should be familiar with. They've been here. So I'm surprised that was actually his first win, to be fair. That actually genuinely has surprised me. I'm sort of too stunned now to speak.
Archie's looking for his first endgame.
So for people who don't know, Archie and Jakey Fan are being coached by Veno.
Ooh,
It's been
nice.
it's been a long back and forth trying to sort out an agreement. You know, of course, Veno wants to make sure he's paid appropriately for his hard work. You know, they've been negotiating terms.
It's like deal or no deal. After the game, the terms end up differently.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those ones where you never know which way it's going to go. They did finally agree on something, and Veno's coaching, but unfortunately, according to what's going on everywhere, Veno's fed up with Archie already. He's had enough. They're apparently arguing all over the place, which is what you expect from Archie and Veno, but probably not the best time in the FNCS Grand Final.
And they got 2 days, you know?
Sure.
I've heard around that Archie's a day 2 player.
How do we know that? He's never played a
Huh?
day two.
Listen, man, I have my people in the streets.
He's not played a day two.
He's a day 2 player. I mean, if he's not a day 1 player, you know?
Well, I mean,
It's
yeah.
an easy shot to take.
That's fair, but he's just never played a day two, so like, how do we know?
You just never know.
Okay.
If you don't know, now you know.
Cloud and Grows up against DKS and Vox for this cash. We saw them fighting a bit earlier. It didn't actually materialize into any sort of completed fight. But now Vox and DKS will win. No surprise the French players getting all the walls and claiming the cash. That's probably what you expect.
Business as usual. That was stolen from them one game before, so they're not going to let it happen again. And yeah, I guess the quals were just the quals were a target in terms of zones, Levin. They just took the brunt force of 1,000 summers for us to be absolutely chilly here inside day one of the finals.
Honestly, look, I know I made this whole Levin's list thing and I said, yeah, I want to see winter zones, but I didn't expect them to just give me a winter zone every game.
Let's just say you want to see a wad of cash on the stage right now. I want to put more things on this list if this is the case.
Hey, I will happily add more things to my list. If they're going to keep coming through, just send in your request. I'm bringing it through.
I want to qual for finals.
That might be hard to make.
Yeah, can't do miracles. Can't do impossible. It's true. Chicho and Trulex. I see them in such good spots for Surge and bases. And they've been consistent so far in endgame. But to make that top 3, to get what they need to do, that's just going to be the difficulty now in these last few games.
Chicho and Trulex are one of those teams where you sort of know what you're going to get out of them, and they sort of try and play a similar style season to season.
Yeah.
I think back in the day, right, different chapters, things sort of worked out for them, right, where they had a better spot, and they were playing sort of mid-map. This time around, they're playing outskirts. It's a bit different for them to play the way they want to play.
Ooh. The Ox. Okay. Base invaders. We love to see it.
That's what Deox is all about, right? Controller players. They want to get in your box, get in your face.
Aslan Slovia kind of slowed down from that first game box-to-box type playstyle. Gonna be so nice for them to have a little bit of change of pace too, all the way from Shady. Gonna be able to make the zone. So many things happening all across the map though. These guys, it's just one story. I've liked what I've seen so far from them. Overall, it's been nice. Off spawn has been interesting too. A lot of players, I wonder what their off spawn is like. Seeing what's good. I mean, so far looks like uninterrupted. 120 points are also looking good on the day. Got 2 more games after this one. Everything's sunny for Aslan Slovia. Here's Thomas HD and Malabuka. Questions I have off spawn for them, but I don't have the answers. Who does? Do we have anyone? Who does?
We have a mini miner who has the answers. Do not fear shy. Now, it hasn't been the best start for Thomas HD and Malabuka, and throughout all of these weeks so far, we've seen them looting very, very split. Now, they've got a few issues, so they're going to try and stick together and try and play together as much as they can. We see Thomas HD, of course, using this Mammoth pistol, doing what Thomas HD does. And what I really like about what he did here, he actually got a key earlier on, and actually uses the Keymaster Augment as well. They rotate out of their drop spot, get, of course, these hollow chests, which they get an upgraded shotgun, and, of course, they get this repeater rifle. But he doesn't want the repeater rifle. He wants that extra ammo for the Mammoth pistol. I've seen on socials Malabuka's getting a little bit heated, so let's see if they can keep their heads on for the rest of the games.
I want to start to see them pushing the limits of their game. They're a team that many people have come in with high expectations of, predicting to do really well. Obviously, we've talked about breaking that curse for Thomas and for Malabuka. Malabuka, if Thomas is the best player in EU to never win an FNCS, Malabuka is the second best player in EU to never win an FNCS. Those two have had one coming for so long.
You know what the saddest part is though? It's always like a difference of one game or like one mini endgame performance. I feel like we might have already seen the difference. And that's Bevies winning that 1v2. How many points were they blocked off of?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yo, did Tini have 6 slurps?
He did have 6 laps.
That's a lot of slurps.
Honestly, that is a lot of.
If you saw a man walking with 6 slurps, that's an unusual amount of slurps, enough to strike a conversation.
100%. I would be like perturbed by a man with 6 slurps. That would worry me a bit.
What does Misha have? If Tini has 6 slurps, I don't even want to see Misha's inventory.
Yeah, he must have a lot of slurps, right? Because surely you would just give him at least 2 to carry. But the fact that he's not giving him the 2 is like, do they just have
He's
like
got 4 slurps.
4 slurps? Why do they have so many slurps? Okay, well, look, I don't want to say anything crazy here, but if a team has this many slurps, I expect greatness. Like, I expect the best Fortnite I have ever seen. Like, you just gonna win the game outright. Like, you just gonna win.
Listen, Rift Island, fall damage, no slurps left.
Oh, man. Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
No, these guys can just see purple now. This is just crazy.
Yeah.
Their life's about to change.
Tanking the zone will be light work for them, for sure. They're gonna pre-plop slurps for every rotate. just to be safe, you know?
They're waiting for zone 13.
Yeah.
Now, meanwhile, on the other side, Dexy, notice, no slurps.
He could use a slurp.
How does that change things?
Well, first of all, he just doesn't have slurps.
Yeah.
So, he needs to be a bit more careful with his rotates. You can't pre-plop slurps. Can't take fights willy-nilly in the hope that he'll slurp or get him back up.
It's true.
You can't play backside height takes with slurps.
We saw that was actually necessary to win games, so.
Slurps are important. Very important item to have. Even as a solo, Snazy will be happy he has a slurp, because it will give him plenty of options to work with in a game where, as a solo, you don't have many options.
Saw a previous option he selected, and that's go ham. 3 people knocking the box, you don't see that often.
Ooh, the fake ramp flip.
Oh, he's in his brain. He's in his brain. The bullets are too. 10 HP. And it turns that into an entire game to play now. Mix and Blaha, I think this is one of the only teams in EU that have had a point every single game minimum. So the only team to not have a 0-point game in general
Across
out of the quals.
qualifiers,
Yeah.
That's very impressive. So it goes to show just how locked in they've been to this season. It has been their season. Strategy, game plan, all on point. And execution's been even better at times. And we're seeing that from their position here in the zone. As good of a spot as you'll get right now in this zone.
Ping and Kiri. Everyone was hyped pre-game 1 about this duo. I mean, we're talking about, the pre-show for us, people on Twitter as well. They're in a lot of people's top 5s. It's 5th or 4th place. But what's so special about them, and have they proven that today so far?
I think the big thing is that this is a team that has a solid enough game plan where more times than not, they're going to come out of their POI with good surge, good maps. Obviously, they have access to mud, so they can get into good spots like where we see them on the zone right now. And they are a team that, even though we've not seen it yet, they will look to play height at times if it does appear to them. Haven't quite got the lock-in on the timings of it, but when it does appear for them, they will certainly take it.
Just about having that space and time. We saw Podesai in that last one with the Titans of the lobby down. He had the space and time to go for a nice clutch. This time for Tripper and Refsguard. They're actually in the zone inside zone 6. Not typical for the duo, but they're ready to have a base set up, go for a few shots and play on Surge. Fastroki drop down to low HP as Seti and Cammy from that bottom side are looking for sprays of their own as well from late people coming in, and that's typical for these guys. Might get close and personal with this one as Sky is just absolutely low and yeah, tuckered out too. Seti's gonna be able to cover Cammy as he closes the distance. Gets the mats, gets the full finish, and gets out too. That's huge.
Yeah, that's classic Seti and Cammy there. We don't see them taking many fights in games, but when they do, it's going to be one where they hold a full advantage over another player. And this time that advantage came positionally. They were sat in the perfect spot just to sit there and spray their weapons.
To get to a spot in this game though where that end game looks nice for them is going to be a big cost. You cannot be playing ultimate low ground in a zone like this, because look at what happens. From down low all the way up top, 10 stories in a matter of 1 second. Seti and Cammy, nice refresh. Time to elevate now and possibly get another or 2 more. Putrick Swizzy didn't know exactly that this is the situation. It's going down. Gonna be pushing box to box, making sure these fights end early because they need control on elevation, on verticality, on mats to be able to keep moving. 59 builds, 39 for Putrick is not gonna be enough to keep this game going.
Yes, 100%. And they're gonna need a refresh now because once we start heading to those moving zones, it's gonna be so much harder to really get off of good elevations to find people to fight.
Oh,
They might not
no.
even have to worry about that at all as they try and make their way into the zone. And they got a world of eyes on them.
It's gonna be hot on Bush and Mustache from the left side. Cammy and Vanyak on the right. That might be the worst box to be in of all time if those three players looking at you on rotate. Zone closing in. So much surge available or gain for Mustache and Hide on Bush are looking good. Chatix and Hen being bullied on the backside once again. We're going Arctic Tundra to jungle as it's max pull for a majority of people inside the zone. Here's Tripburn. Okay. That's just not allowed.
Yeah, Trippin is not a man you see coming out with the big highlights often. But when they come good. He's typically that guy leading the way. You see it here. Angling downwards as they look to try and rotate their way through and get out of that spot they're in. You can see them right side by side of Cammy and City at the front of the screen. Giras and Chari gonna be looking to hold in pings as well as they try and make their way to zone. Thomas and Malabuka, a bit of a later rotation, rotating in with a lot of the pack. They're gonna run their way through and there's a bunch of old bills that they can sort of duck and weave through before meeting some players in front of them. That's Flixie and Griphead.
Everyone focuses on that left side all the way towards the south. The dead side actually make it look alive. Thomas HD stuck in the box with another player though. Him and Malabuka on these rotates have just been good all the way towards the end, but through the beginning and middle, sometimes separated and not side by side. They're actually gonna end up going towards the right side of rotation, looking slightly emptier as everyone chose the left. Snazy taken out as in the side. We're not gonna be seeing the back-to-back. Trulex and Chicho pick him up. The observant duo finds their perfect time to strike. Gets a good refresh on a team that had just a little bit left in the tank. It's Mappy once again with ultimate high ground.
Buchik and Swizzy find a body that will keep them in this game. They're gonna have to hope Swizzy has plenty of mats for them because they desperately need it.
Oh, it's nothing.
Hopefully, Swizzy picked up some more than what Buchik's working with. Heidenbush and Mustache in this game still have a lot to work with by way of slurps as they rotate through. They have a long rotation to make as well, but it's back into Slappy Shores, which is their home POI.
Lots of slurps, not a lot of mats, and that seems to be the situation for everyone rolling in. The good thing about Slappy, though, lots of buildings to move through. Cammy, Seti, the first people to be there, the best possible zone for them. I said don't play low. I must have been crazy because right now, they are looking so good at this POV and Slappy, stopping everyone coming in from the backside, then move up and elevate and still have so many mats to work with.
That is the key, right? They want to stay on these high layers. It just gives them so many more options to look down at these teams. It's Giras and Chari, though, holding on to height and really strong hold as well. Gonna be very hard to take it off of them the way they're playing right now.
First rotate on that dead side, they had so much room to work with, bullied so many teams, and now they have that high ground. How far can they go? Swizzy and Butrick from rags to riches, and what Swizzy that picked up so many mats over from that Totten duo, and they're looking so good.
And that's going to be the key to helping them lead the way. Thomas and Malabuka, all the late rotations finally catching up to them. Malabuka taken down in another game where Thomas is doing his best to run on in, but it is such a hard zone to traverse. And with this remaining metal builds he has, he's going to have to make some sort of a wonder play.
In protection and movement, his mats are bleeding, and there are no bandages to keep them in tow. There is no refresh anywhere. Meanwhile, up top, it's Teeny who ends up taking height, and it's Mustache who's climbing for it.
Once again, on that same time in Mustache and Heidenbush look up for height, and it was right there ready for them. But the take can't be completed as the height hold was again too strong. And so we will force them back down, but Mustache with no materials, having to pop this slurp.
17 HP, he has to be careful. Can Heidenbush go for the split? Doesn't really matter though. They have to collapse on someone, and that's Axe Force and Roban. It's gonna be a force here. Can they break through the walls? A few beams on the left side, but it's Rashad taken down. 2 slurps left in his inventory. Heidenbush just has one. This has to be a big clutch.
Heidenbush, the king of making nothing or something out of nothing, and he certainly has nothing really to work with here. Just has to mantle up, notices players all around him, constantly spinning around, reacting to them, sound cues, dodging and weaving through these different builds and edits.
Now, a little bit of reprieve as he has time to make decisions to let the zone eclipse him. He's looking to shine past it though. One wall down. The second one, choosing not to break, go around. After that, there's 30 HP really to work with inside that zone, and he gets taken down. Cammy and Seti control just way too much to take out Baha on the one side, and then Hideon Bush on the other.
Yeah, and they ran out of mats. But instead of dropping to low to try and fight, they knew to just stay in these buildings, claim one level of their house altogether. And that allows them to find Hideon Bush. Still players lurking around the building though. A game of hide and seek for Swizzy now.
Misha Tini, all those slurps kicking in all the way on high ground. They're looking good for now. Tripper and Refsguard in trouble. 10 HP for Tripper. One more mat left. It's just about, can he sneak away one more placement? You can't expect too much from him in this position. Maybe get Swizzy on the left side. Has 2 men missed to work with, but for now, it's just trying to find something, and he gets taken down. Now just 3 different teams left. Seti down low with Cammy. They've made good so far, but it's cost them so much on HP. They're just absolutely battered and tattered out in this position.
This zone was so hard for them to get any sort of refresh, but again, to survive this long is what they're best at. Finally, gonna be taken down, but look who it is to sweep in and win the game. I'm not surprised, not really. When you've got 10 slurp juices, you are expected to come through and win the game, and that's exactly what Misha and Tini do. 10 slurp juices, Shayo. It is just a wonderful sight.
It's a strat. You want to win, get the juice up, and it's huge for these guys. You just love to see it. Tricky zone too, though, and multiple different people on height. It's nice to see them both take it and then hold on to it when Mustache and Hideon Bush are looking to just grab it away from you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It isn't just the slurps. They had to make it happen. And they did certainly make it happen. You see from above, taking everybody out. It was such a difficult zone to move through. Moving through the north of Slappy, it's so awkward, all those different buildings, players with no mats popping in and outside. But they were always there and ready to clean things up. A big, big win for Misha and Tini.
Absolutely. Max rotate, super teams below you. Doesn't matter when you got the slurps and you got the skill to match.
Yeah, big, big game for them. We're going to send it to the analysts to break that one down.
Thanks very much, guys. Misha and Tini. It came down, as they said, to slurps and skills, and we have got a new member on the analyst team right now. I mean, you're not new,
I'm back.
but you're back.
Back in business.
Takata, welcome back. What did you make of game number 4?
It's been crazy. What I'm seeing is a lot of consistency. Misha, obviously, and Tenny getting the VR, but seeing Cammy and Seti in 3rd place, I've always seen them all day on the leaderboard getting closer and closer to 1st, so I'm a little scared of what they're capable of.
We hear it all the time. Slow and steady tends to win the race, but for Misha and Tini, they had the dominance from the get-go, and it's largely due to those 10 initial legendary slurp stooges that we saw in their inventory. And again, that is not an easy feat to accomplish. That's looking like the results of a vault, a couple of caches. We saw them with 3 elims when they stood at those 10 slurps. And even despite the fact that Misha ran a little bit low on materials, it didn't really impact things too much when they were able to still maintain some of those old builds to play height.
It's crazy, isn't it? As long as you can hold on to them right up until the end game, it can pay dividends, of course.
100%. I mean, when you have that confidence and you're up above, you're playing it by the books. It's really just finishing it out strong. And like Levin said, in a Slappy Shores ending zone, it's difficult. There's a lot of natural construction, buildings, doors, bridges, everything blocking you. I believe it was Refsguard or Trippin there trying to break through while he could, but ultimately you get taken out. The duo that controlled it from the high. Getting the VR, I mean, it worked out well.
We're getting into a position now where we can really start to take a lot from the leaderboard. So let's take a look at it and see who is sitting up top and who is not. As it stands, again, once at T, I mean, you're just reacting with a woo. Oh, yeah. Talk us through it.
Trulex, Chicho up in that #1 spot, going up 5 placements, 232 points, 15 elims, 172 of those are placement. Swizzy Putrick as well in 2nd place. And I'm kind of scared seeing Mustache and Hideon Bush in 3rd place. That screams danger.
But at the same time, another 4 placements moved up. Cammy Seti, they've been fluctuating within this top 10 of the leaderboard. And even in this game, we saw a great take from them as far as front side was concerned. The fact that they were able to be on that front side when the zone started pulling towards Slappy Shores, it set them in a great position to start spraying and suppressing and controlling a decent amount of the lobby for the rest of the congested side that was trying to pull in from the north side of the map.
Yeah, they're now right in there in a position where they can potentially pounce as this tournament goes on.
Right, it kind of gets that chain reaction going, and not in the bad chain reaction where you're stuck on the congested side of zone rotating in and in, but stuck on the dead side where you can constantly shoot back on the duos behind you over and over again, conserving materials, getting that damage done, and keeping up with that consistency, which we love to see from the Polish duo.
Mustache and Hide on Bush didn't make it all the way, of course, in that last game, but they put in a cracking performance.
And now they found themselves in their own backyard here with the way that the zone ended up in that Sloppy Shores territory. But at the same time, Hide on Bush and Mustache, they didn't necessarily get off to the start that they wanted to at the beginning of today, but seems as though they're really starting to warm up into their natural stride. We saw a nice attempt from Mustache here to try and chop down some of those teams that were on the opposing end with that ultimate high ground layer, and obviously Hide on Bush did his best to try and maneuver through some of those mid-ground layers, but of course, when there's so much congestion in those lower layers, it gets a little bit difficult not to run into somebody else's box.
Now, of course, we can never underestimate the power of a victory royale, but at the same time, this standing leaderboard, as it always does, just goes to emphasize how important those eliminations are.
Yeah, I mean, elims are crucial, especially in grand finals. You have different ways to get points, whether it's capturing the island, but eliminations have always been one of the strongest ways to not only stay consistent like you can with placements, but if you can consistently get a good amount of eliminations, that's going to put you at the top of the leaderboard.
And something I definitely want to call out, though, is Svi and Vaken chilling in their 9th place currently, but we've seen them kind of fluctuating between that top 5, even 6, I believe, heading into this match. But the fact that they're landing over at Frigid Frog, Aegis Temple area, because there was recently a buff towards that north side of the map around Lily Labs, and it's incredible because they're triple contested, and yet they're still maintaining a top 10 position this deep into day one.
Shout out to Refs and Trippin as well, once again jumping up some numbers. In 6th place, we can take a look back at some of their highlights.
I love to see this duo. I actually recently got dinner with Refsguard, and he was feeling pretty confident about how these upcoming tournaments are looking. Seeing how they've been performing today as well, both Trippin and Refsguard having such a strong early game. They already know their path, they already know how to get their surge, and they are just focused on the late game, consistently getting to late game and performing in these late games. They have the loot, they have the materials, they have the damage. Now it's just to keep doing it over and over again throughout all these 12 matches.
Yeah, they're trying to keep that mentality of repetition high as far as their consistency is concerned, because again, this is a duo that's not qualified yet for the Global Championships later on this year, and they're a team that you would almost expect to see having been guaranteed already, but the fact that they haven't been, it's just got a lot of work cut out for them, but this is definitely a good start.
Yeah, I've got a question for you. Where did you go for dinner? What did you have for dinner?
Ooh, we got pasta.
You took me for a smoothie, but with refs, you go for pasta? That's how it is?
I mean, it's Refsguard, you know.
Okay, I mean, that's fair. All right, listen, like I say, we've got some big brain analysts here who love to pick apart the numbers when it comes to grand finals. So let's take a look at some of the big ones.
Well, no surprise really to see Savage in that 2nd place position. Have to remember the clutch that he had as a solo in game number 3. But again, these solo clutch impact points can make a pretty big difference. But it's Podesai in that last game specifically
Crazy.
did a great job. I mean, he lost Snazy relatively early on and still made the best of it.
I mean, you can see that from 37 to 63. That is a significant increase, but also Bevies. What we've been seeing from Bevies throughout the day has been insane. I mean, his performance, his mechanics, I have not seen him mess up anything in these late games.
As an individual player, we know that Vico can go hard. Do you want to see more from him, or are you impressed?
I'd be surprised if we didn't get an opportunity to see more from Vico at this point. And again, Svi, 5th here. And talking about solo impact points, again, that triple con is not an easy thing to deal with.
This is my first time on an FNCS broadcast. Does it always go this quick? Does it?
For the most part, I mean, the players are ready.
All right, let's get right back to it. It is time for our penultimate game of day 1. It is Game 5.
Second last game of day 1, and this is where if you have adjustments, you make them, because that last game is always desperation, Mr. 11-2K. This one, it has to matter.
Things have been learnt over the course of the 4 games we've seen so far. And I think the big thing that we are seeing in a lot of these games is that players are really struggling for Surge in a way that I haven't actually seen before. Of course, every grind you see teams struggling for Surge, but teams not being able to find the solutions over the course of a couple games is really surprising on some parts.
No, absolutely. A lot of the times, too, you know, even if they struggle, they have a plan for that. This time, they're just grasping for anything they can.
Yeah, the leaderboard definitely looking different to what maybe people would have expected, but still some familiar names in there as we head into the final 2. Let's jump right back into the action. Of course, 4 games out of 12. It's only a third of the competition that we've really seen. And so still many changes to potentially be made.
Yeah, we just know this business as usual at a few POIs, the Spire being one of them. And yeah, we tune right in. Ooh, looks like some people found a map and they're gonna use it, but they're gonna get abused as they do it. That might be the fastest elimination I've seen so far at the Spire.
Shakos and Skydune win again off spawn. Big and great news for these two. Of course, the day started off so sadly for them, right? Losing twice off spawn is very painful, but they are back to winning ways. And hopefully now they can get that push into the top 10 and really dominate out of this POI.
They've definitely found their rhythm.
Oh dear. Blaha and Mixon, uncontested. Where have Jakey and Nathan gone? Where are Jakey and Nathan? That is the question. Where have they opted to land? Are they now contesting somebody else? Or have they found somewhere to scrap loot and at least give them a fighting chance to play games out?
I need a
them in the
big
distance.
update.
Look,
Ooh, never
Jakey's
mind.
is there, yeah, look, he's in there in the distance somewhere. So they aren't contesting anybody else, it seems. Where's Nathan?
He's full shield, so wherever he's at is a lot better than where Jakey's
I think
is.
he's further up north. I think he's that area there, maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
4 games is what it took for them to say, yeah, enough is enough.
But like, is this even a spot to like win an FNCS from is the question.
I think when you lose 4 games off spawn, your mentality shifts from like, we are winning FNCS to let's get anything out of today that we can.
Nice, yeah.
And then come back stronger for tomorrow. Tomorrow's, as much as tomorrow is an extension of today, it's like, you know, you watch many FNCSs in the past and day 2 is almost like a completely different tournament in itself, right? And so, as long as you prepare for that, you're good.
Definite reset. You can see all the gaps on the map. You can see issues with possibly a few strats in place from other teams. That 12-hour window of VOD review is just huge. Some people barely sleep. It goes up to 20, 24. Santa Lucia might have to put that VOD work in. Looking slightly distanced from the top 10 currently on the day. You can watch exactly how Steno makes a rock when he can, though.
Oh, yes. I've seen Steno and Lush make plays like this at Mega City. They love it. They love a good old, let's camp in the room and wait for someone to walk in. That is their bread and butter.
Ooh, they're using that little bit of an off-spawn win to get some more momentum in a fight, but Steno is just crashing into a completely solid brick wall. This is just not gonna work out for him. It is corny in a 1v2, but he's popping off. Med miss dropped for Steno to get back up. Lucia in the box as well. Match split apart for both teammates. They're taking this one a little bit more methodical. Don't want to ruin a game that is going really good for them so far comparatively. Looks like there's no mats on the side of Corny either. Or nope, it was just a little bit late to building. Hello, pop-up by Steno and Lucia. That's just nice.
Not bad at all. Corny and Skeeve feeling their wrath. And what do we have here? Misha and Tini, I guess this explains why they had so many slurps last time round. It's because even after this fight concludes, they want to get involved in the secluded spire. They want to get this vault and get the slurps that come from it and go onto the island as well. And I think after winning last game, they're going to try and make that game plan happen every single time. This is, them winning last game was the worst possible thing for Shakos and Skydune and Pablo Ingra and Bevies. Because now they're just not going to leave. They're going to be at the secluded spire every single game now.
If you think about it, I think that's the best thing to do though, right? If you have 10 slurps, you do win the game. So just get 10 slurps.
We say it's like it's easy, right?
Just contest 5 different teams and win Rift Island. Not difficult. Light work, no reaction.
I mean, they made it look like that work. Last game, 120 to the dome for Kiro and Marine.
That one's got a bit of a kick.
Hedra playing the slow game. Of course, Osborne, or at least early on in these kind of games, you're often trying to catch people out for surge, right? Sneak up on them in places they're not expecting you. Archie down in the feed, that's not good news.
It's Trexer this time that finds him out. Huge fight breaking out right next to zone. We've seen Archie go down multiple times near here, but Hydro also tripping up in one of the games. This time they dictate the pace. They're going for the pressure. Jakey's by himself. And Mixon and Blaha are also on the outskirts. Half in, half out of the zone. And just pressuring as much as they can to get any tags back and forth. There's Blaha inside. Fighting close by. Meanwhile, outside just looking into the zone, it's Mixon seeing what he can do. And they're going to be able to just reunite there. Trexer Hydro will get beamed up a little bit, but nothing too worrisome for them to go down.
Second zone, and of course, people going to be getting in, jumping in mud as quickly as possible to try get to where their caches are going to be. I see players rifting as well, if possible. For Swizzy and Putrick, they're going to base up and look out for surge opportunities. Vasca and Older taking the fight to the racetrack with Malabuka and Thomas. That's not something you see often.
They're looking for early fights in that last game too. And we saw Older just get taken down. Cammy tripping up as Kiro picks him off. So I'm wondering what's happening in that fight specifically. And where Seti's at, that's a full elimination onto Cammy. And one interesting thing I've seen so far is we've seen seldom reboots inside this game. I feel like every time you see one person go down, they never end up coming back.
So hard to reboot in a lobby like this.
Yeah. You see the potential of Malabuka's inventory right now, the mats he has. This fight, he's hoping he gets out unscathed. Really expanding here to have a few more options. It's just him. Thomas HD is down. Oh, and that's a big shot taken. So now with those splashes starting to be used, he's going to be locked in totally to this fight. Seeing it all the way out. Skyjump was ready. My goodness. What a shot. I wonder if he knew he was there. I think he was focused completely on other players. Comes in, seals the Elim, and then they're good to go. Hot on Bush looking at Kiro. We saw Kiro just take out Cammy. He's picking apart players anywhere he can see him.
I still can't believe what I've just seen from Racetrack, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to Skyjump and Akira. Those are console players, man. Taking down the goats of this lobby. Like, we're here like, yeah, man, Malabuka Tom's going to roll the lobby, win FNCS, and the console guys just come through like, nah, man.
Curse breaker. It's Takada's fault. You don't want to blame anyone.
This is very interesting. Pink and Rico up against Mustache and Hyde on Bush.
Mustache, already a casualty of this fight. It's knocks on both sides for a team that's across the way as well. This is a timer though for Hyde on Bush. I think he's gonna let Mustache tick out. This feels like a very awkward game. I don't know what it is, just fights slowly unraveling between teams we haven't really seen interact this early yet. And it's still going.
It's like we said, man. Every game has been very different. It's had a different flavor. Only consistent thing we've had throughout the day has just been like winter zones mostly. So,
I mean, I feel like in this zone, no, I mean, this is actually a mirror zone of something we've seen before. Just right side of the map near the beach. Malabuka and Thomas were good at navigating this zone. Same thing with Mustache and Hyde on Bush. This time, though, completely not the case, as everyone else has learned from their, what was it, Game 3 mistakes. Vigo and Pink have not seen the sun so far. They've been focused on this box fight for so long.
Yeah,
Whoa.
they've had their fair share of surge issues today, and so it's not really a surprise to me that that's the way they're taking things. Oh,
No way.
oh dear.
Don't do him like this.
Oh no. I think he's about to do him like that.
Metal walls all around. Tyron Bush has time to play this way.
Oh, and another team coming in might just save him as well. Or it could be his doom if they decide to focus him. Either way, he's gonna go for all this cash. Yeah, now they're gonna put the focus on him. Hottie and Tropex. They wanna get involved. Pink and Vico will retreat and say, nah, we're not about this life. But he will still get the loot out of it. So that's 4 slurps for Hydon Bush to work with. I would not be surprised if he dipped out now and tried to just get a reboot on Mustache in the zone somewhere. He has 4 slurps. It's enough to really tank zone right now as it's 2-tick. I think he's good to go.
On this side of the map and how things are just looking overall on how fast you have to move, the fights you have to take, it's just tough. Kenty though, once again, ooh, going down. Robon with a quick 1-2. We'll just move on from there. This is the south side. Then the winning team we saw rotating from this side, the game that the zone went this way. I mean, Robon still has a lot of control if he wants to come in from the south side. It just elevation will be his enemy because everyone else is just going to be based up higher than he is.
Not careful. Blurfire might have something for him.
Skydon Shakos.
No surprises there, man. When you get a spawn for the island so close to your POI, you can just do this. Ramp up. You see, they were set up on top of the spire for ages. The island spawns, they'll be familiar with all the possible spawns. And this is one of the better ones they can get. It looks like they were able to claim that vault.
3 slurps just on one person. I'm looking at how much this means for them in general. They get this, they jump up into the top 10, almost close to 6th place. That's how close it is from 5th all the way down to 11th, 12th overall. And even more slurps for Shakos and Skydune. They see a team down below, Moneymaker, low HP. You always like to check people as they're getting sprayed, but Shakos is the one to get the brunt of the damage first. Mammoth Pistol from downtown, taking his shield out. They're so good on Surge. They have slurps. I mean, we're seeing game winners before they win the game.
That's how the tea leaves are reading right now, but whether or not that translates will be dependent on how they move from here, because all that positioning on top of Secluded Spire has decreased the amount of farming they were able to do. You see, the maps aren't crazy for them, and they've had to invest quite a bit to even get to where they are right now.
They thought they had the time now, but more teams are even coming in.
Yeah, look, the brick and metal will be fine for Shakos, but we'll have to start farming up some of these trees here.
Putric's got every tree so far. Ooh, Swizzy. Looking for a little bit. Everyone's just up here to farm mats. You come in, you look at the POVs, it's just pickaxes swinging. Left, right, left, right. It'll be crazy to see what happens next. So many missing teams inside this game as well. Tini and Misha, no slurps, but they're still kind of succeeding. Got some slap splashes.
Why did he drop the breacher? Did he leave it for Tini?
I mean, let's see.
He must have left it for Tini. Like, there's just no way you just leave the breacher shot in there. Like, it just doesn't happen.
He knows something we don't. I like that teamwork back and forth. That's Trulex going down.
Relax. Interesting.
They're neck and neck up top in first place, so that's Trulex gone, and Chicho to maybe even follow. It's a huge elim.
Well, look, Misha and Tini couldn't get what they wanted out of the Secluded Spire, and so they just decided, yeah, we're gonna go Southside Slappy and just mess with these guys instead, and it does pay off for them. Misha and Tini really disruptive to the lobby. You don't want to get involved in any action with them. That's a good chance they got something for you.
More things going down, you know, who's around. I see Seti and Cammy on screen. Miniminder, how did this happen?
They've had a bit of a rocky road so far, but let's delve deeper into their strategies. We can see Cammy off spawn getting actually these bushes. We've seen a lot of teams using them, so maybe they'll use those later on down the line. And even using this thermal AR to actually get some tags on teams down the middle. But look at this. Cammy actually going down in the mid-game here. Not a very good start for this duo. Seti tries to go for the reboot, but of course Cammy gets beamed out of the sky by Haijo and company. Not the best start for this this duo, but of course Seti thinks, you know what, I'm going to get his reboot and do it again. Second time's the charm. Cammy is now back in the game, and hopefully for this team, they're going to be able to find some a little bit more success.
Look, there's one thing I can promise you. If these guys are in the end game, they cannot make zone plays. Storm Surge, or Storm Sickness, sorry, is going to be on them like white on rice. They're going to have no leeway to make Storm plays with how long they've had to tank zone. Well, at least Seti won't.
Cammy's left then as the truth.
Yeah.
The only person who can touch the storm. That's gonna be tough. Very good eye on that too. You know how important it is for the layers they play and how endgame ebbs and flows to be able to work with that storm. So not having that, gonna be big trouble. Mustache, hot on Bush, have both their bodies alive, looking good so far, but a little bit of just lackadaisicalness as Mustache does not cover the right side and eagerness to find a few more shots down below. They got some shields though to be able to use this up and look good. Many teams focused on this huge fight that's still happening over at Rift Island.
And for all of it, it's the ones with the slurps, the most slurps, who are just like, yeah, we can tank the zone, tank the storm. That's why Skydian and Shakers are still big chilling here. Yeah, like, it's on. I said it a couple games ago, but it's honestly like if you are up against a team that has this many slurps, you just leave the island. It's just not happening because these guys can stay here for as long as they want. He's come down to look for the loot. He remembers leaving a med mist there, and he's like, wait, where's it gone? Tayson, hide on Bush, sorry, walks through and stole it.
And he missed, and he slurps, any more?
I love that. I love how he actually went down and he genuinely looked confused. I swear I left the med mist there. Where's my med kit? I can't find it.
He might be fine with someone taking it, but I don't think Skydoom's gonna be fine with someone taking that med mist for free. Here now, though, Slurp taking over. They know they're stronger. This deep into the zone, they've covered the pad up. They know that this fight's gonna be free for them to take, absolutely advantageous. You cannot go slurp for slurp with Skydoom.
You definitely can't go slurp for slurp. These guys are 10 slurps up right now. To outslurp them would be just nigh impossible. You just can't.
You think you're the slurp?
He's
I'm the slurp. He's the slurp. Here's Podesai. You know, statistically speaking, it's good that Snazy's down right now because that means he has a more likelihood chance of winning.
I mean,
Off of what we've seen today.
from what we've seen today, sure, but at this stage in the game, with these materials, with his HP, with his surge situation, I hate to count people out, but in this case, I am very much counting him out. Doesn't even have the heal-off potential to try out-heal it.
He's got a bandage.
I mean, yeah.
That's not going to be enough. Who can he affect? Not even Blaha. Podesai has 3 more seconds. Make that none as he is gone. Meanwhile, out on Bush. Okay. 1-2 in a box.
No!
Hello! And he's down. But no one else can do that. No one else, when in such a bad spot, everything's gone. Just hits a 190, 185, it's over.
So many seasons of grand finals, we've seen him make plays like that. And it is part of what makes him so good. So unfortunate to go down there. I would have loved to see them play out the rest of the game after that play. But another zone hit at Slappy Shores.
Having mimics of endgames over and over again. This time, though, you won't have to move in there as a secondary, tertiary type thing. It's not zone 10 or 11 that's at Slappy. It's zone number 7, so you can plan a little bit. Zone is pulling down south. We have seen so many max opposite pulls, though. The worst thing that can happen for this moment is the zone pulling north. If that happens twice, this whole lobby's in big trouble.
Big, big trouble. And they don't want to be in big trouble. Dexy, Petra, an ever-present force in these games. And one that is finally looking to try capitalize on so many of their top competitors being down already in this game.
Saw Trulix go down, and we see Putrick fall as well. So first and second an absolute disarray. Swizzy's still alive, though. Not sure where Chicho is. Skydoon and Shakos. The Slurps are gone. Both players down, and I'm not sure how many heals they still had to stick around. Who got those healings? You have to tune in just a second to see once again, because they have so much loot to work with. I think it might have been Cade. He sees Clone as well, but I'm wondering how, with that many options, with that much room to play, Skydoon and Shakos fall. That is just so unfortunate. And we have a North pull as well. So for the rest of the lobby, big trouble is imminent. They can survive one big push, but I don't think they can do another.
Traversing through all of these different players is going to be madness. But the big thing is that with so many builds already established here, plenty of players are going to look to avoid them, right? It's such an unknown going through old builds that aren't yours. We'll see people building up and around them. And so for the players that do like and choose to hide in them, there could be some sneaky opportunities for you to get away with cheap tarping and saving some materials. Swizzy gonna now look to run his way through, and that breacher will help him just move past different builds, just shove them out the way.
He's really relying on his skill right here. This is huge. Double Mammoth Pistol into Breacher. He just wants to go for big damage. It's the channel that inner taste and what we just saw moments ago. Made it all the way to zone. Silent for now. Interrupted though. Is every pistol loaded is the question, because if there is one person challenging him on his walls, this man has the biggest firepower in the game. Ramp reversal. Could go for a trap play, but no, he gets dropped down. He's taken out.
Too much pressure for him to handle. Anchor and Gold are the ones trying to take advantage of this lobby now. They have high ground, but it's Mappy and iDrop lurking in the shadows, waiting to potentially play it.
Every single time we see the zone, it's Mappy on height, and he loses it or has to give it up. This time he's learned. He's observing now, acting later.
Dexy still kicking it. I don't know how they've managed to get to this point, but it looks like it will be the end of the road. You see him vigorously shaking, trying to spin all different sides and angles to cover himself. And he's done such a good job to stay alive under the circumstances.
There's going to be trouble, though, as he has to move off the island pretty much. This next zone that's locking in, half of it just doesn't even exist. It's crazy. Gonna just be water, so everyone's going to be clinging on to that left side. Dexy is making it all the way through. From 16th to 14th, he's lived through 2 placements so far. Then the 13th as well, he's popping off.
Yeah, but staying on low ground is going to be so dangerous for him. The moment anybody starts to look back and realize that this guy is lurking around, it's going to be big trouble. And so that's why he's trying to force the issue. He wants to take a fight, but exactly what I say happens. Somebody turns around and catches him out.
Hen takes Gold out from high gun, and I think him and Oogway are here to play. Classic type of EU situation. I haven't seen this in what seems like years, but it's a nice sight indeed.
What chapter we in? With Hen and Oogway up on height. That's where they want to be as well. Even this season when we've seen them at their best, it's been on those layers. Teamy still alive in this game and still making things happen. You see him lurking in this bush, and there's so many players around. He could potentially get shots on, but he's that player that gets taken down.
I saw Oogway go down in the feed, so it might be a little bit more trouble on height as it seems. Geras falling as well as he looks to go completely out by Srap, who was next to Hen, so maybe they're the ones who are looking for height for the moment. Robot's still moving for Elam's Total as a team. Older up top, but he gets denied. Vastia can't go for the heal off either. Luce Steno, yes, 7 Elams checking in. They're just absolutely tearing up mid-ground. Pound for pound, duo after duo, and the Breacher reaches far as Luce finds some more.
The Breacher.
He has to go down too. A bare bones beach down below with no mats for any duo to play with.
So good for these guys to breach a flapjack combination. So relentless in applying pressure. But it's down below. Anas and Srapt dominating the low ground, claiming space and claiming names as they move on through. You can see over to the front of the zone. They want to go and do it all over again as all these players start to drop down.
So many players have space. No one has any time. There's no mats available at all. So Luce, he's getting set to drown. Anas has control all around though as he takes shot after shot and succeeds. Oogway finally knocked down. Kylie, low HP, he's gone. Anas is just an absolute powerhouse, a gargoyle that cannot be moved from this position. He has no mats either, so this is his final placement. He goes straight for Goals' box, looking for the next chance to do damage. A 2v1 as these guys will absolutely solidify this game. Looks like a vacation for them because they're smiling. They're feeling good on this beach. Anas and Srap for a win.
Big game for that duo. And as much as we'll talk plenty about Anas over the years of Fortnite. In this game, it's wrapped, putting in the work, 7 elims right there to really just lock in that game. Anybody that was on low ground with them was just done. Finito, no hope when you're up against Strapped and he's in the mood. Big shots, even when it doesn't matter. Right hand peek, left hand peek, he does it all.
He doesn't need advantage. He just needs a chance, a sliver, a moment to land a shot, and he will not miss. Still, if placement will start to track, that's absolutely true for this game. I feel like it's all about the elims in this one. Another team with Steven, with Steno and Lucia, it was nuts. This one, though, on screen, made it look effortless in terms of a win. What a tough zone, too, in terms of Slappy Shores. You're moving around it in like an L-type formation. Anas, Strapped, I don't know how you did it, but you did it flawlessly.
I wanted to see them make some sort of appearance here this weekend, and a win in Game 5 is one of the best ways they can possibly do it. I know Ian's going to be happy about seeing his boy Anas on top, winning a game, so we'll send it back to him to explain it all.
Too right, Levin. You said it yourself. I'm super happy to see the $1 million man himself, Anas and Strapped, get the dub. Hey, listen, no bias here, but it
We
was
saw those claps.
We saw it.
It was one of those games where we saw a lot of the big players that we expect to pop off drop out a little bit earlier, and duos like our winning one here took advantage.
Yeah, and Strapped with 7 eliminations, his first FNCS finals, making it look like he's a veteran.
But that's the thing, though. You could really see Anas's IGLing experience come into play, or experience as a player overall, because I know Anas definitely still looking to develop on his IGLing, but the way that they chose to pincer from 2 separate directions, there was even a brief split between these two in these final moments, but Anas doing an excellent job to essentially reposition with Strapped so that they were never really spending that much time separated. They just knew that if they could pressure from 2 different locations, it would cause mayhem for a lot of these solos and duos remaining.
Exactly what they needed to.
They brought it, right?
They really did, right? This is the second to last game of the day. It is a 2-game tournament, 12 total matches, and now with this victory royale, not only a VR, a high elim victory royale, that's going to give them the confidence, the boost that they needed to keep pushing forward.
Well, let's see what sort of boosts we've seen on our leaderboard. This is a pivotal time of our grand finals weekend.
Oof.
And we're again seeing movement across the board. We're seeing teams jump up by 7 points. Our new first place 4-point jump. Looking good.
But it's Misha and Teeny who've done an excellent job at just taking full advantage of some of those teams that we were talking about. Our top 5, our top 10, they were getting elimed relatively early, I believe by 8th, 9th zone. We're not seeing anyone else from the top 10 surviving other than Misha and Teeny. And granted, they didn't, hold out for a victory royale by any means, but at the same time, it's the fact that they're clutching out those extra little points of placement that allow them to overtake Trulix and Chicha there.
Look at this confidence, too, from this duo going right into their opponent's boxes. They know if they need damage, they're going to get damage. If they need mats, if they need heals, they are going to fight for it. And when we looked at that leaderboard, too, top 3, 2-point difference between all the duos in the top 3. 4th place is not far behind either. We are head-to-head, and I could not tell you who I think is going to come out first after this day 1.
It's crazy, isn't it? This is what we love to see in a grand finals weekend. You want it to be poised, prepped, and ready to be going into that second day where you're thinking, who's going to take this? And that's how it's starting to lay out.
And that's the thing, too. We mentioned a little bit of adaptability after that halfway point. And again, this is where you really start to see some teams enter their own rhythm. I mean, Skydin and Shakos are a primary example of that. We've seen them now in that 3-2 battle versus Pablo and Bevies over at the Secluded Spire. And if the Frenchies continue to dominate, things could bode really well for them.
Is this the top 10 that you expected it at this point, T?
Look, not expected, but I'm liking what I'm seeing. It's all way too close for comfort. You can't predict who is taking it home. And even on previous FNCSs, the duo that got the victory royale in Game 7, which is Game 1 of Day 2, won every single FNCS in this chapter. So if they win Game 1, the chance of them winning the whole tournament is pretty high.
That's a crazy stat. Let's move on to 11 to 20. I'm sure we'll see some familiar names chilling in this territory, Taka.
And again, looking at Anas and Strapped,
19.
that victory royale, 19 placements is a huge jump in the leaderboards. And remember, that's off of one solid game. We've seen Anas and Strapped definitely struggling to make it towards the end game of the lobby, but the moment that they do, that's where you really start to see Anas's experience begin to shine. And the way that Strapped was working alongside him was just exactly what you would want to see from Anas taking a chance on such a young fragger.
It's looking so close too, even on the second page here. You can see the points are not too far apart. With there being one match left to close out day one, the 6th match, anything can change. Anas, like you said in Strap, 19 placement points off of one single match.
Crazy.
If any other duo, even they, get a similar match for this closing game of the day, that's going to set them up for day 2. And with the leaderboard, how it's showing even in the top 5, anything could still happen.
Yeah, a little bit later on, we'll be looking further down the table, and they're the teams that you're thinking, if you can have a performance like Anas and Scrap did, then you could jump your way back up there as well, right? Let's take a look at 19, Kylie. Look, they jumped up 8 places as well.
And again, this is all just off the back of teams kind of just finding their moment to strike. They recognize the fact, hey, a lot of the top 10, a lot of the top 15 even are getting elimed relatively early on. So this is exactly what you would expect, though, from Kylie. You see them trying to pressure onto some of those high ground layers as well, looking to try and chop out some of those teams, not letting the teams on height get too comfortable, because Lucia and Steno almost had a great opportunity to kind of close things out on height. But again, Kylie, Infrastructure just doing a great job to play Disruptor.
Amazing. All right, let's take a look right back at the top 10 once again and remind ourselves of the front runners. Takata, if you are in this mix here and you're going into Game 6, we talked earlier on about the mental strength and the fortitude that's needed going into the closing stages of a play day like this. But it's vital that these teams have a strong performance, because they could get leapfrogged by teams below them real quick.
Yeah, I mean, these are the grand finals, Ian. The players in this lobby, they're the best of the best in European competitive Fortnite. And we talked about the top 3, the top 4, but look at 5th and 6th place. Hide on Bush, Merstash, Camiseti, they are not too far from that first place spot. Don't let the 5th and 6th distract you. They are still very close to being in that #1 spot.
Oh, look, there's always going to be a lot of emphasis as far as a top 10 leaderboard dispute is concerned, but I'm actually a little bit excited about that 16th place team that we saw, Asa and Slove. A little bit of shout outs there to Bear Army, but wouldn't be surprised to see them work their way or sneak their way back into the top 10 for the closing of day 1.
Are you guys ready to sneak your way back into the game, right?
It's time.
Okay, listen, guys, if anything, I feel like some of the teams below will have looked at Anas and Scrapped and think, oh, this is our chance now. Maybe we can do something like that and have a shock victory royale. But then the teams who we expected to perform in the last game that didn't are thinking, right, we need to brush off our shoulders and get back to work, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the last game. It's the time to make it happen. If you want to make something happen, last game of day 1 is when you make it happen. You'll have day 2 to prep, you know, now tonight. You can see what's gone wrong, what's worked well, what you have to mix up, but you just got to give it your all in this last match.
Hey,
Taka.
you use a day 2 region for a reason. There's a lot I would expect.
Tako, Takata, Takawata, thank you very much for your thoughts. It is now time, one more time today, to get back on that battle bus. It's our last game, Game 6 with Levin and Shire. Let's make it a good one.
Let's wrap up the day then. Game number 6. We've had 5 games of the grand finals of EU, and 5 games that I don't think anybody could have really predicted how they've gone, Shio.
Absolutely. Slurp City Central, Misha and Teeny in first place, and Goats just having trouble making it up the mountain.
Yeah, for sure. If you had a prediction list and had Misha and Tina in first place, I'm calling you a liar. I'm calling you a liar because nobody could have seen it. But it's happening, and I think it's real. Here in game number 6, if they can continue to retain their lead, push the boundaries of their lead, Shio, it would be very good for them in day number 2, because day number 2 is going to be a whole different day.
Absolutely. Day 1 is no joke, though. A lot of people say you can catch up, do a lot on day 2, but all that work you put in day 1, it sticks. It's hard to absolutely erase. So whatever these players do in the top 3 now, it'll be huge for the rest. But let's focus on this last game. Day 1's game 6, the halfway finale. It starts now. The curtains rise as duels drop from the bus. Krieg Compound been a little bit of a kind of central spot to see how people rotate around. They get a little bit muddy, get to their caches. Meanwhile, the Spire has been our source of daily breakfast entertainment. The first thing you see off drop, the first thing in the morning is Skydune, Pablo, Bevies, and Shakos going straight for some type of loot, a drop, and some action. Bevies missing a pistol, Shakos getting a chest. Wrap it up already and ask for it to go, because Pabloing goes down and Bevies will follow soon.
Yeah, looks like the end for this duo today. A big damage being dealt from Bevies, but unfortunately, not much after that. 4-2 on the day here at the Secluded Spire, and The question then becomes, if you are Pablo Wingo and Bevies tomorrow, do you stick at this spot or do you leave? We know how good they are when they get to play games out, but right now they're not getting a chance to play enough games.
Listen, you're saying 4-2. I would say unofficially, it's 5-1 or 6-0 for the side of Skydon or Shakos. They have just had better drops. Sometimes it's just bad luck. I think the first game, Pablo Wingo and Bevies were just a lot more confident in general, but when it comes to technicalities of the Spire, if I'm Pablo Wingo and Bevies, I might just be finding another drop or a different way to attack that location that's not completely 50-50. That will be very tough to crack, though. An enigmatic code that, if broken, gives these guys another chance to dominate the rest of the lobby. Because once they have that loot, Levin, I mean, Pablo Wingo Bevies, aggression we've never seen before in EU FNCS at all.
Maybe I'm mistaken, maybe I'm remembering incorrectly, but weren't they literally first place after the two games they got to play out? Like
By 50 points.
Yeah, like they got to play 2 games and they were dead first place. And now it's like, you know, all of a sudden they don't get to play. They're just completely out of the standings. But it's like, this is a good team that we need to be seeing in these lobbies for more than just 20 seconds off spawn.
It might be a YouTube video they're going for, right? Like, if they do the same thing on day 2, can you win FNCS in 4 games, right? Who knows? Could be a thing, but it's definitely not possible. Jokes aside, they are so good. You need to see them get off spawn. You need to see them with high prio loot. It's all about either fixing your drop, having a better chance, or going for a different game plan entirely. Hedra Dexy, whatever game plan they've had today, it's been working through all the irregularities we've been seeing on day 1 of EU's FNCS. These weird winter zones, these people staying inside Storm for just so long. Decisions being made by so many different people. Every time Hedra and Dexy are somewhere in the sightlines, doing very just consistently well. 13th, nothing to scoff at. What are people aiming for at the end of day 2 here, Levin? It's not just top 10, it's closer to top 12, top 14.
Yeah, 100%, right? Because if we look at the leaderboard and see those teams who are currently in there, Seti and Cammy already occupy a slot for the Global Championships. Mustache and Hide on Bush do so. Initially already, those are spots that fall down to other teams and other players. So as long as you're keeping yourself in and around 15th, you've got a good shot at the Globals. Nito and Misha putting in that work early on.
I don't want anyone to think that Teeny and Misha are a gimmick duo by any means. Actually putting in good work so far. It's not just the slurps or a drop that's saving them. They're actually converting it into good height takes on teams late game to win, and good early game aggression as well against duos. And you mentioned it, Levin, being top 15. Pablo Wingo and Bevies, after just playing 2 games and falling off spawn in the rest, are still in 12th place. Are still looking good to qualify for globals if need be, after just playing 2 games.
I mean, that's what happens when you get to play at Secluded Spire. There's a reason it's such a strong POI this game. Well, I say this game, this whole season, sorry. And of course, they are very talented players. We cannot forget that. We cannot discredit them. 2 of my favorites to watch. Cammy and Seti here on our screens, who certainly are not out of this competition. Day 2, Cammy and Seti are still on the horizon. And I think for this duo, as long as they are in and around that top 5 area, they're just always going to be a threat to it.
It's absolutely true. For zones that have been happening so far in terms of how well they mesh with their game plan, I'm surprised they're even close to that top 5. It's miraculous the things they've been doing to stay ahead inside these games. And this is a very good, consistent type day 1. 6th place overall on the day so far. Or close to inside that top 10 overall, jumping back and forth. Trulex and Chicho had a taste of first for about 1 post-game 4, I believe. Then falling early in game 5 made things a little bit troublesome. Teeny Misha continuing that aggression Find a few tags on another player, another wraparound jump shots. That takes Geras down. Both players now playing in tandem. First place, not pressure for these guys, clearly a buff.
Yeah, but will it stay this way going into tomorrow? That becomes the narrative. I think we've seen great teams have great day ones in the past, but it was always clear that day two was going to be hard for them to keep those levels. And I think Misha and Tini may get thrown into that category of teams where people will look at them and go, will they be able to do this again come day two? And if not, then of course they want to make sure day one they have a big of a lead as possible.
They'll push for it. Just 10 points right now. Might be going for a little bit more from the Yilins they had earlier on in the day or in this game. That's our trip in. Very, very topical and fun to follow in the first 3 games. After that, slightly middling in performance. Paco Yapko also looking to see if they can actually put pressure on that first place team and take him out. This is trouble. You want to see conversion from an amazing early game onto 2 different teams for Misha and Tini. Paco Yapko want game 6 to be a blowout, to just give them possibly a 50, 60 point surge. Go for a top 3. They'll put some pressure down. They'll leave after the fact. A few shots rattled back from the duo they were bullying. This should be good for now. On the other side of the map, we have some more action dropping down. Wilbon, let's see what he's got cooking. Him and Axe Force not really seeing too much contestation over at Kenjutsu, but will be Archie overreaching slightly, looking for some loot. The poor guy taken down in the dojo.
Archie at Kenjutsu, interesting. I don't know what to expect out of Archie anymore. I don't know if I should be surprised or...
He's trying. He's just surveying. This is a scout game for day 2. That's all it is. Nyan and Moneymaker. Seen them have their fair share of box fights through both Qualta and finals today.
Nice.
Very nice win.
Moneymaker's actually the youngest player in this lobby. Weirdly enough though, he's just like not the most unexperienced player by extension, right? He's had his fair share of competitive experience. Feels like he's been like the youngest player for like the past 3 years, to be fair, but...
No one else is allowed to play.
Yeah.
Moneymaker's side job is just discouraging really young players from playing professional European Fortnite. Just to keep the stat.
I mean, he is good, so...
Oh man, that's just tough. Even with a good, nice off-spawn disengage, Nathan is not going to be able to make it past Fatal Fields.
It was interesting there, right? Skydune and Shaykos didn't, or at least in the one inventory saw, didn't have slurp, so I'm guessing the bot didn't spawn for the Vault this game, which is a bit unfortunate for them. But of course, they still will get their cash, so there will be slurps available for them this game.
I mean, with their win condition too and how they play this game, they're going from that cash straight to building for Rift Island, Levin. I think 6 out of 6 games we've seen Skyder and Shaykos be close to there at least when they're alive.
Zone's on the other side.
Ah.
Gonna be the spawn that favors them at the Spire. But I do think if convenient for them, yeah, we will probably see them try and play up for it. Have a rift up there or travel there via the zip line. Nicely done from the stash.
Through vines, through pixels and trees, this man will find the follow-up every single time. He's still tracking him. Mihail on Bush, the confidence to keep up. I dropped some trouble.
They know. They know.
Oh man, good edit choice too. That's just textbook from the boys.
Nice attempt to hide from my drop, but the stash was clued up.
219 points. They're trying to climb to get towards that top 3 spot. Skavi vacant. Moving in towards that left side. What else have they been doing? Mini, what's the last update of the day?
Last update of the day is a top 4 catch-up on all of our teams because there's only 8 points separating our top 4 right now. So in 4th place, Roban and, of course, Axos. They managed to capture the flag. And, of course, we just saw them pick up an elimination onto Archie, so their game is getting off to a good start. Can they mount an attack on 1st place? We'll have to wait and see. We saw Misha and Tini playing a little bit more passively. We saw them getting that elimination and actually camping the reboot card. We saw them actually pick up that elimination as well, so great job from them. They're even sitting inside of the storm to wait for that player to come on through. I like the strategies from this duo. And of course, we have Swizzy and Pootrick, who are actually based up on top of the vault, able to get so much surge damage from there. And luckily for them, the vault did spawn in their favor. They got so many slurps from that. And of course, the mythic Flapjack rifle, which we'll see them use later on, I'm sure, as well. And of course, we have Chico and Trulex, who actually have themselves a heisted Breacher shotgun. Will they use that to their success? We'll have to wait and see.
Ever see those cartoons where your brain is just expanding and expanding and become a giga genius?
Yeah.
That's what I feel like when I get an update from Mini Miner on the state of the game. I know it all now.
But what will you do with that information, my friend?
I will continue to watch Hide on Bush dominate and then predict that he wins this game. And if I'm wrong, that means that Mini's wrong. And that can't be right, because Mini is never wrong.
The problem here is that to get Mustache back in this game, with the way the zone is now, would be tough. A reboot at Creaky Compounds just wouldn't really be viable. You've got to think that he'd just get shot out the sky if that was to happen. And there is somebody here as well. To be fair, he actually maybe could have got a reboot up at Creaky Compound if he was to take down that player.
That's asking for a lot, though. Mini's wrong sometimes. It's all good. We'll keep moving. 2 elims, so Jakey looks like he went down too after Archie fell to Roban. And they've got a lot of surge, so they've been active on the field. A little bit of a lighter game. Usually it's 88 people alive by this time. 81 right now, so a few squads, a few duels have fallen. It's the last game of the day. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, you can catch more of the games that you might have missed earlier on. It's been an absolute show in EU today, and NA will be starting soon as well if you want 6 more games of high-octane action.
Yeah, NA's been fun this season. Unpopular. Look, you won't hear this much from me, but I'm just as excited, if not more excited, to see NA. Than some of the action they've had out. Yeah, man, NA's been fun this season, man. There's been a lot going on in NA. But hey, all eyes here on the final game of EU and all eyes on Cammy as he fights to keep his team in this game. A big shot with that Mammoth.
This game is a difference maker. When you're looking at, I just wish we had one more to play. At the end of the day, too, it's how seriously you take this specific game. The last one on day 1. And Cammy, he's going out for all the stops. A reboot in front of 5 teams. He'll do it. He needs Seti to make it all the way through towards the next portion of the game. That ramp up makes it so that Jargo's not going to be able to see him. Pickaxing down, though, he sticks to it. Gets him inside the box, turns around. Where is he? Inside all the builds. He'll leave, and that distraction close by might actually make people look at Jargo. Seti actually falls right in front of Cammy. Chasing still, and he goes down.
Like you said, it was a very ambitious attempt. It was almost never going to work out in that situation. So many of those players just ready and waiting for the reboot to come off. But hey, look, in the final game, you have to make any play you can to keep your team in it. But we will see more from Cammy and Seti tomorrow.
At least they can say at the end of the 2 days that they tried everything to make sure that each player was still inside the game. Mustache out on Bush, taking their sweet time on a rotation. Kylie, Fastaroki had some trouble overall in the day. Nice shot though, 136 with a boom boom bop on the Sky Dude. Looking at how their day is going, 7th place. This was the difference maker to keep them kind of comfortably inside the top 10. Now, I mean, no eliminations on Shaco, so I feel like he might have just been left alone. He's not going to be able to get Sky Dune back up now, and I think everyone knows he's a solo as well, so they're going to be taking pot shots at him over and over again. Last slurp down. his chances slim of seeing anywhere close to a top 10 this game.
Yeah. It's tough, right? Because, of course, we want to be optimistic about their hopes. We know how well they've done today, especially when they've been able to come out of the secluded spire, but this is one of them games where your chances are just very, very slim, to say the least.
Dexy taking some damage from Surge as well, and you know how tough the lobby is on Surge when the man who hunts every single duel you can find is having some trouble. Him and Hezra, due to the zone being closer towards that shattered slab side, not really found much in terms of the rotations in favorable box fights. They gotta start to activate their game now though. Beam depart and crack. Dexy has nothing left in the fuel tank. Has to push towards Mixon, who might have one of the freest eliminations of his entire career. It's Blaha who picks them up. Hedra also takes them out too.
Yeah, it doesn't get much easier for them than that, but they don't really get much out of it either, to be fair, so.
This is huge. First place over at 6, who's teetering on 7th right now.
What?
Destiny for Skvi, who doesn't have a wall behind him. How does he even know? What a perfect slide in. He found the weakness. This man can see the kryptonite. And after that, I don't even know where his duel partner is, but if I'm in, I'm running.
That LM was nuts.
Clean.
That was so clean. It doesn't really get cleaner than that. And their job's not finished. They know Vaken's gonna be here somewhere. And they've spotted him. Swizzy's also there in the distance. Oh my god.
My god, Swizzy is a solo too, so this might just be perfect for Tini and Misha. That could be his partner on the left side. No, it's Future coming in late on the right. 3 different teams now involved in this one. They go Pioneer mode. They might just push the rock straight into him. It's going, but they're not. They move closer to Anas. And Zone will lock in right on them in the center.
Oh my
in
goodness.
first place.
Wow.
You can't market it better.
This is literally the perfect situation, and they get another refresh. Finally picking Vaken up. It literally is oh, wait, wait, hold on. What's happened here?
Wait a minute.
Misha,
Taken out.
I didn't see that coming. It was such a good spot. But the focus onto Vaken left them vulnerable for a matter of seconds. And in those seconds, somebody took advantage. So Teamy playing this one out as a solo. Look, Poochik and Swizzy profiting from the loot of Vaken and now the loot of Misha as well. So they might be setting up real good for this endgame.
Stealing loot from first place and then maybe even taking the placement too. You can see the difference in points, about 25 for Swizzy and Putrik in 3rd place. And then Misha, Tini, 250 all the way up top in 1st. I didn't even see this coming though. Roban and Axe Force, 242 after some of the eliminations they've got earlier on in the game. They're in 2nd place overall.
That is not bad.
In the FNCS EU Finals.
Look, I've seen crazier things, or I think I have at least, but this might just top it all. Anas and Straps adding more to their elimination totals. Trulex and Chicho, they do not want to be forgotten in this party of the EU Grand Finals. They want to be, remember, they were such a good spot in the leaderboard. And they want to keep that now. A big LM there. Nice little refresh. We'll see how many maps they get out of that. Very nice as well. So can they continue to have the good day that they have so far?
Hopefully. I mean, they're in one of the toughest spots to be in. You can see that you can't even see the zone line on the bottom right on the mini-map. There's so many different arrows, so many different teams nearby. I'm surprised they have this much space to work with, but with every single layer change, with every single new box comes new eyes, new duels on you. Strap, meanwhile, stops, so no back-to-back as Thomas HD picks up that elimination. But aside Snazy still alive and towards the high ground, no one really with a big base. They've learned from today how awkward it is to have that first heights. Axe Force, Roban in the most awkward spot you could see in general. Axe Force with 1 HP, first place hanging by a thread.
And 0 materials. He can't even build to protect himself in this game.
He might not need to, they got zone.
Yeah, they're gonna be able to stand in this box as it pulls over, and so they'll be okay. But not for much longer, especially with so many people crowded around them. You see them moving back through these old builds. and it'll allow them to stay alive in the zone. But again, they have to find something, you think.
Huddy on the right side. He goes under and to the left. This layer looks a lot higher than it actually is. I think they're 4 layers high on a lot of other people's builds right now. Army and Vanyak are not going to be able to roll over easy either, so gonna have to pick a box to dive into. Every box around you is either brick or metal, fully built. You don't have the time to pickaxe. You don't have the mats to replace. You're good on Surge, but what's the next option? Meanwhile, Teeny, soloing, low ground, done. Anas picks him up as a solo. No wrapped. Axe Force, 1 HP. Ajo above him. Surge now ticking. People get desperate as the zone does cull over a bunch of players on the backside. Anas is forced to rotate through many different mid-ground builds. It's so awkward. He can barely even put a single mat down without costing him 50 HP per second, and he'll tick down to 0 from shots from above. Anchor and Gold, another position to have high ground, another position of power possibly, as Swizzy and Putrick see so many teams fall in front of them, they can get first place.
Yeah, this is setting up perfectly for them to be the ones to finish the day in first. Axels, though, we know they needed to find something, and they have a miracle. Hutty falls right into their lap.
Ooh.
And they now have enough builds to protect themselves.
That could have been it though. Fast Roki with a beam, and it misses. Axe Force though only has 12 builds. Shot from the backside, 3 HP, he is down. Robot needs to survive, but it's Irezumi who's a pit stop, and then a stopper from the backside. It's Melody to turn off the music in Robon's ears. He will be stuck in this position for now, but it's at least a top 10, so that's huge for the day.
But look who it is up above. Kiri and Ping. I said they like to play for height, and it's taken them 6 games to do it. And they have to just hold on. First moving can be tough, but they should be able to get through a second move, and they have to start worrying about all the potential teams that want to take their height.
For Ping and Kiri, it could be a difference of tens and thousands of dollars. The performance they'll have in this game. Putrick picking up and lead him though, as he keeps moving forward. Vidil active, Swizzy another, as Misha is down. Arizumi is still going on that low ground and stopping Guides from moving forward. Daisy side though, they found a glitch in the Matrix. They got all the way towards the front side. Past the chaos that Finyan has to deal with. Past the chaos that Moneymaker's lost in. He doesn't even know where to build. He has so many mats, so much time, but he's succumbing to the pressure. Has to drop a splash. No! The heals, the slurp, the builds. Too much to handle.
Swizzy and Putrick, though, this is where they wanted to be, taking height of Kiri and Ping, and it was second moving where they really looked for it, and now they can just hold on. You think at least for a couple more minutes. Blaha and Mixon aren't together alive, but Blaha is still kicking it here as a solo.
Blaha's just about 20 points behind, so if he continues this clutch, it'll be huge. That's his last box though. No more bats, so he needs a miracle. Focusing on some of the other solos alive too. Nebs popping, Malabuka by himself as well. About 100 points attached from first place, but he wants to make it and hold on to that top 10, 7th overall right now. Waiting for Nebs to move. He can't afford to wait in that zone though, so he's got to go first. 6 more builds. One shot takes him out, and he's somehow still alive. Just wood available. Just nothing available. Mammoth to the head. Follow through on Podesai.
And he gets the loot as well. Now has to try and get back in the zone. The med misses there, but he has to keep fighting. He will go down. And it's Vico waiting for Nebs to walk into the zone, but he has to worry about Ping in front of him. And there's another duo waiting there as well. Vico desperately trying to build up.
Wow, clean builds to get up 2 jumps, and he's already on a safety of low ground. And his aim is magnetic. His decisions fast, electric right now, back and forth. This man is not hesitating on decisions. Doesn't matter as Putrick and Swizzy pass the 300-point line, pass through first place, and look straight to day 2 for more dominance.
Right now, they hold the keys to the lobby. They are the team that finishes day 1 in first. And they do it in spectacular fashion, just how you want to do it, by winning the game. And look how much spare they had at the end as well. Still had a slurp, still had some splashes. And they made it look easy. That flapjack being put to good use as they just eliminated everybody down beneath them. And Swizzy and Putrick may not have been the team that many people expected in first place after day 1, but they've certainly looked worthy of being here. They are not messing around at all in this lobby.
At all. They have some padding room as well for the overall points. And when it comes to just 6 games, sometimes tournaments are just 6 games. If this was an old school FNCS, these guys just came back from 4th all the way to 1st.
Hey, look, Globals is 6 games. If this was Globals, they'd be in first, right? But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Of course, we are still a couple steps from there, but this is great for them if they want to be there, doing incredibly well today, but there's still so much more to unpack.
What a great 6-game zone. That was like unorthodox zones, crazy plays from so many teams, and a lobby we didn't expect to hit that top 10.
Hey, look, we're going to send it back to Ian and the analysts to wrap up the day for us.
Levenshire, you guys killed it. That was game 6 of day 1. And you know what? Let's just do the next 6 games now. Let me
let's
just,
go.
Are we good? No, we're not allowed to. Doing it
I
tomorrow.
think NA might have some problems with that.
Oh, good point. Good point. Listen, these guys, Swizzy and Putrick, what a phenomenal end and what an end game it was.
Yeah, what a way to close out day 1. 332 points. We can check out the highlights here. They were locked in. They were locking on to their opponents here. Elim after Elim. Controlled play style, taking the high ground when they needed to, holding it until the last moments of the match, and ultimately securing that VR that set them up in an amazing position to start day 2.
Now for Ping and Kyrie, I think they just got a little over ambitious there. They had the high ground take, but they forgot to keep sight of what's on their backside as these zones continue to pull over some of the elevation, and just a beautiful finish there from Swizzy and Putrick to punish that team on the high ground, because Ping and Kyrie, they didn't really seem like they were fully aware of the fact that they were getting dinged from that secondary height layer. But again, Putrick, Swizzy doing everything that they needed to perfectly to close this one out. Although it was getting a little scary there looking at Vico, because once he finds a beat off of one Elim, it's not surprising to see him collect as many as he did after that.
Yeah, I think we're all starting to look at Vico at that point like,
Got a little,
hold on a
demons
minute.
coming out.
Yeah, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen with our standings for the final time today? This is huge. Swizzy and Putrick sitting in first place, 332 points. That VR is the timing of it, everything. The Elims, magnificent.
Definitely a strong way to close day number 1, but for Trulix and Chicha, we see them climb just one spot up into that second place position. Heading into game 6, it was a 2-point race between Trulix, Chicha, Swizzy, and Putrick. But for Trulix specifically, what I noticed is he spent a lot of time inside of the zone towards those final closing zone moments, and a little unfortunate he was left as a solo in that position, but he had the Memmis. He was doing his best to try and stay alive, and did manage to actually close on a couple more placements in the process.
Look, sometimes when you're left as a solo, you make the most happen. Currently in second place, I would not be complaining. I believe it was 272 points, around there. So they're not as close as it was looking in game 5. But now day 1 has finished, sorry. And being in second place, they are going to be feeling confident for day 2. You can see, like Taco said, tried using the med miss, tried scattering those last few points, but ultimately ending with 272 points, they're feeling confident.
You hit the nail on the head, right? I think it's really fun as a viewer and a fan, to be honest, to watch the players that thrive in that solo environment where they like to carry it on their back a little bit, right?
Exactly. And again, if we're talking about the day in the total, we saw so many solo clutch instances from a lot of teams, but this last moment from Vico in game number 6, if that's any sort of indicator for what we can expect from these guys heading into day 2, I'm excited, because Vico and Pink, while they work great together, sometimes you think that Vico's right back at that Red Bull contested land, playing things out as a solo here. He just did such a fantastic job, not missing a singular shot, and even the build to get to that position. Did such a great job with his edits.
I mean, you can see Vico can play as a solo. You've seen with his previous performances. Still a duo that's yet to qualify to Global Championship. Pink and Vico, sorry. So you know that they are feeling fiery. They want to make something happen in day 2. But what I find interesting as well is we can see once again Camiseti in 8th, Merstash and Hide on Bush in 7th, one placement away from each other, but they're a little further than to first place than previously.
Robin and Axforce jumped up one place as well, and sitting in 3rd. We haven't spoken much about these guys, but phenomenal.
Now, we've seen a little bit of interchanging as well in the top 5 just in general throughout the course of these first 6 games. But Robin and Axforce, I think one of the few teams that we saw consistently trying to go for some of those height takes. Again, primary issue that a lot of teams just tended to encounter was not only the fact of other teams trying to chop them out from below, but it's hard to maintain height whenever the zone keeps pulling over some of that natural elevation because you just have so many teams trying to collapse into your layer.
What's also interesting is we didn't really have a single duo dominating high ground every game like we've seen Queasy and Vino do in previous tournaments. So it was always changing up which duo had high ground, which duo was contesting high ground. And with all the snowy, cold north zones we had as well, it just made it that much more difficult for the duos down south.
Yeah, they've stacked up quite a impressive amount of eliminations over the day as well, Taka.
No, that's the other thing to keep in mind is that we're seeing right here in our top 10, Misha and Teeny actually leading as far as elimination is concerned. But again, Axforce, Robin, they were in shambles leading into the final moments here of game number 6, and yet they still managed to hold on just long enough. They played their position to the best of their ability, having zero material, zero builds to work with, and yet they're still able to close out with a perfect shot, a perfect refresh onto Huddy to just buy them that much more time.
And you can see how well they can rotate with not a lot of loot, no heals, barely any materials, making use of the environment to try and secure up as much placements as you can in those last moments. And every point matters literally, especially when you're in a grand finals. It could be the difference of one elim that gets you that qualification to the Global Championships.
This is a silly question. Of course, you'd like to be in the top 10 going into day 2. But do you think it might give you a somewhat false sense of security? Do you want to be almost hovering just below where you're thinking, I got to kick off strong tomorrow?
Look, the biggest change in placements we've had from a duo that went from day 1 to winning day 2 and taking home the FNCS is actually back in Major 1, where Hide on Bush and Merstash ended up going 7th place in day 1 and then taking home the FNCS in day 2 after the 12 matches. And I'm feeling like a repeat because they're in 7th place again day 1, so they can still make it happen.
Well, we chatted a lot about Robin and Axforce just then sitting in 3rd place. We can now speak to Robin. Welcome to the show. You've put on quite an incredible performance here on day 1, sitting in 3rd place. You must be feeling very proud of yourself right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of proud, but I still need to do good tomorrow.
Yeah, is it important that you don't get too far ahead of yourself? Obviously, 3rd place on day 1 is one thing, but you need to maintain that position, go even higher tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true. I actually want to do better tomorrow so I can make sure I win.
Want to do better, and you're already in 3rd place as is. That is mind of a champion right there. But Robin, you were in a very difficult position with Axforce in those final instances of Game 6. So what are the comms like in that kind of situation when you literally have no builds and no heals to work with?
I think like we're just sneaking around looking for an easy elimination, and we ended up getting one. So we kind of got a bit of loot, but unfortunately we got caught backside and died.
Yeah, it's dangerous. Now, look, you still have yet to qualify for the Global Championships. What are you going to change going into day 2 to secure that qualification?
I don't think I will change anything. I will just play the same and keep the consistency, and we will make sure we qual.
You said that you want to win. Are you thinking more about winning this entire tournament, or are you leaning more towards qualifying for the Global Championships?
I want to win the tournament, but qualing the Global Championship is fine as well, but winning the tournament will be better as well, because then you qual and win.
Of course. I've got to ask you, what are you going to do for the rest of your night? Yeah? Just sit still. Oh, no, you're still there. You're still there.
I'm going to go do some VOD reviewing, and I'll see what we did wrong and fix some problems.
All right, Robert, thank you very much. You froze for us, but I know you're still moving wherever you are. Best of luck tomorrow. I mean, look, it's important, isn't it? This is something we can't really shout about enough, is that qualification spot for Global Championships. But before we get there, we've still got plenty more to look forward to. Of course, this has only been day 1 of the EU FNCS Major 3 Grand Finals. Tomorrow is where it all happens.
Exactly.
But of course, we've got NA as well, right? After this.
We got NA, and then not only do we have NA after these grand finals, we also have the last chance major, that one last opportunity to secure a spot at the Global Championship. So you know these players are going to continue pushing forward.
Of course, we need to get hyped about the last chance major, but again, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Tomorrow is the grand finals finale where we will crown our Axe of Champions. Here's why you need to be there for it.
Championship, that's the main event of the year.
I mean, it's everything. We've got to qualify.
It's definitely really important to qualify. I want to prove to other players that I'm a top tier player.
We are playing every single tournament that we can.
We just need to be aggressive, go for plays, just keep doing what we do.
If I didn't qualify to Major 3 and I had to play the last chance major, I would definitely feel more pressure.
I want to make sure that I qualify, and if I don't, it's kind of embarrassing in my opinion.
Qualifying to the Global Championship would mean everything to me, so hopefully we can get it done.
I think it could make or break my career.
There is no team better than Pink and Vico.
Good luck, my friends. We're all gonna need it.
My man Hen, you better qualify. But anyway, listen, what an epic day one it's been. Tomorrow, of course, is going to be electric. But let's just take a brief moment to have a look back on what's been a brilliant 6 games. We've got the full squad here now. We've got Mr. Mini-Miner, Mini-Mapper, and the master of mini-maps himself right now.
Thanks, Ian. I'm good. Yeah, no,
That's all I get.
That's all you get. Sorry, mate. Maybe tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see. But no, it's been a great day. It's been like so much change to what we expected throughout the weekend, right? It's just been like, we look at the top 5, it's like nobody would have guessed any of those teams to be in the top 5, but that just shows like anything can happen.
I honestly could not have seen today going the way it's gone. Like there is nothing you could have told me yesterday to make me believe that today would have been like this. Absolutely nothing.
It was my list. I have the list written down.
Okay, man.
Seriously.
He just wrote it.
That's cap. Levin's list, though. You actually got some of the boxes ticked, right?
Maybe too much. Every zone was like a winter zone, man. It was really the game of zones today. I think I want to see Archie start to pick up a bit. You know,
Yeah, me
that's
too.
the one I really wanted to see. You know, if I wanted to see any of them come true, it would have been the Archie one, and we're still yet to see that.
Archie was just doing a little bit of a heat check on the lobby today.
Day 2 player.
Taking some engagements, 1v2 scenarios with Adil and Savage, trying to keep everybody else on their feet.
He was
That
scout
game,
thinking.
I saw like Archie just running off to 1v2 but doing something. I'm like, you gotta slow down, buddy.
Hey,
did that go?
slow down,
Go
man.
well.
It didn't go well.
Listen, before we all skirt out of here, one word, how would you describe day 1?
Beautiful.
Dangerous.
Not talking to you,
Chaotic.
Minnie, not talking to you. I'm kidding. You called me. It's just a nickname thing. Go on.
All right. Chaotic.
Levin.
All right.
Ian Chambers.
Jaya?
Mini-Miner.
Okay, brilliant. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We are just getting started. Day 2 is tomorrow. And also, do not miss the NA broadcast. That's going to be a banger as well. But for now, us guys, we're going to jump on there. Wait for it. And we'll see you on the battle bus. Beep, beep.
Beep, beep.